Is it some devil that crawls inside of you?
Okay, so yeah, I did just fucking watch Comedian for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And what were we talking about before? I got sidetracked on Orny Adams.
Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know what led us into Comedian.
Oh, it was because we were talking about coffee and like the routine.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Seinfeld, I think it was Seinfeld. I could totally be fucking this up, so sorry, but I'm pretty sure he said, "Oh, I watched this construction worker go back to work after this horrible." You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think it was Seinfeld. I don't think it was him.
Mm-hmm.
It was someone. I was watching a video. Someone said they're like, "Gosh, if this person is going to work after their lunch break, this construction worker doing something he doesn't want to be doing and can still do it, then I can be a fucking comedian and write, because that's something I actually want to do."
I think
could sit down.
I think either Seinfeld said it or Colin Quinn said it to Seinfeld.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
It was Colin. God, he's a fucking gem, and he's like one of the best parts of that whole documentary.
Yeah. I've watched that probably 10, 15 times now.
Wow.
Because every time I do, it makes me want to do comedy. Favorite comedian who is in that documentary too, Gary Shandling.
Oh yeah.
I think we've talked about him before, what an impact he had on my life. But in that documentary specifically, there's a scene where they're in the green room and it's him and Chris Rock and Seinfeld, and Gary's got like all of these notepads everywhere and they're making fun of him for being so neurotic, and he goes on stage and kills and comes back just really calm, and they're all kind of eating their words.
Damn.
Because he knows what he's doing, but outwardly he looked kind of like he didn't, or like he was a mess.
Maybe he was out of sorts.
Yeah, he's just got scraps of paper all over the place, but that was a method that worked for him.
It's weird I don't know what works for me yet, because I'm still so new as a comedian, still like an open micer. So it's going to be a while to like find the process that works.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
Are we rolling yet?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, we're rolling now.
It's a lot of fun to find out. Like, I'm having a lot of fun trying to figure out like what's going to be how am I going to write? Like, Burr doesn't write things down.
Yeah.
He just memorizes them.
Right.
But like not verbatim.
Yeah.
He just remembers the bit and then he's like, oh yeah, tag it with that.
Yeah. You see like their set list and it's just one word, which will get them on a roll. I think Louis C.K. is like that too.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking on the drive here,
Yeah.
I think a lot of those comedians who have been doing it for a long time, they write from the stage. So they think of a concept, they write it in their phone or something, and they get on stage and they start trying it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense yet. That's why Allie and I love to go to Largo, because Largo, for whatever reason, is a club where comedians like to go to work out new material.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite parts of the writing process, is seeing somebody take nothing and make it something. And we'll see like John Mulaney there, and he'll come out with a bit that's not even really that funny, or you can see him floundering. And then 6 months later, we'll see his special and it kills.
Yeah.
Because they know what they're doing and they know that process. And then a lot of times we'll see them and they'll have a great bit and it doesn't make it to the special. And we're like, now we have no way to relive that experience and see that bit again. But I was thinking on the drive here about you were mentioning your mom's monster truck.
Yeah.
And I thought immediately, there's a lot of material that you have from your family life is very unique to your situation.
Yeah.
That I think if you talked about your relationship with your mom and your relationship with your dad and how sort of strange they are to you, that it would translate really well to an audience. And I thought, I want to hear Dallas talk about his uniqueness and what makes him, like, as opposed to observational humor that some comedians are like, they talk about. You ever read the back of a shampoo bottle and you see this and this? With you, I think I want to hear you talk about your life and how strange it is compared to an average person's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I think I try to remind myself not to be too up my own ass, because I'm pretty fucking selfish, pretty conceited, always been very like to myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes like when people are more introverted or more like reserved, what happens is they end up getting so self-involved, and I'm trying to like run away from that.
Yeah.
Because I know how bad where it's like, oh, I'm so fucking up my own ass.
Yeah.
I don't realize that there's other people going on around me. And I try to have like a huge amount of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with you because what I'm thinking is, oh, some of my like best, most like confident things I can make jokes about, they're all family shit.
Yeah.
All family jokes. I'm like, fuck. So you
See, in
saying
my
that,
experience, I've come the other way around. When I started writing songs, I thought the key was to write songs that everyone can relate to, that are universal about liking a girl or something generic about having your heart broken. And I did that for a long time. And as I became a better songwriter, I started to think, I don't know that I actually believe half of the stuff I'm saying in this or feel it or connect to it anymore. And then when I started actually writing songs for me, where I didn't care what anybody was thinking when they listened to it, the more I started to turn to my own unique life experiences and write about those, and in turn found out, oh, now people are suddenly interested because the more specific I get about my life, the more relatable they find it, because they're like, I haven't even been through that experience, but the way you describe it, I relate to it. I get what you're saying. And I'm definitely that way with songwriters. When I listen to music, I want to hear somebody talk about their unique experience down to the most mundane detail. And the more specific they are, the more I relate to it. Even if it's something I haven't been through, I'm like, God, you nailed that emotion though.
Yeah.
Like it's very, or like with a movie too, if you can do it evocatively and make me feel it, it makes me feel like I've been through it. Like I'm nostalgic for an experience I didn't even have. That's what I mean is like, I'm not saying that that's my advice for you, but I'm saying I'm interested in hearing you develop material that touches on what's strange or unique about you, what stands out about your life experience. And in the way that when you see Bill Burr live, at least when I see Bill Burr live now, I want to know what's been going on in your house.
Yeah.
What has your wife been doing that's getting on your nerves? What is your daughter doing now that you have a kid? Like I want to see their unique take on the standard. I'm growing up, I'm becoming an adult, I got married, I had a kid. Yeah, but how does Bill Burr talk about it compared to how John Mulaney talks about it or something? It's completely different styles.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think, I can't remember what song it was, but you have some lyrics in, I can't remember the name of the song, but you absolutely have come full circle in that, at least in the terms of like, I know where your lyrics are in your last release and how specific and relatable they got. And I was like, fucking damn. He got that one, like nailed it on the head, but it was something that you experienced.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I fucking, even though you're not a comedian, if I were to take someone's advice that wasn't a comedian, it would be yours. And also I was going to say like, why not be a comedian or try comedy? Because if I think anyone has the pedigree for it, or at least the sensibility for it, I get that from you a lot more than most of my friends.
I love to write. I love to be on stage, and I love to make people laugh. But combining the three and doing it, it just feels like such a big step for me that I think I keep pushing it, just like getting married or something. It's like I would love to do that, but the closer I get to it, the more afraid I am of it, or the more I feel unprepared for it. So I just keep thinking, well, I'll get there when I get there, and when I do, it's going to be a major thing in my life. But right now, I'm not ready to do that, and it just gets pushed off. I would love to do stand up.
Well, I would love to see you do stand up. So let's get that done this year, if everything goes back to normal. So do you not usually jump into things like that? Are you super calculated in that respect?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of things that I want to do, but they feel, sometimes I think I let things happen on their own, and maybe I depend on that too much, because when I'm working on a new album, or like when I get an idea to do like the Your Own Backyard podcast, it snowballs and becomes its own thing without me pushing it. It's like I didn't decide I'm going to do this right now. It decided for me. And I kind of have let my life unfold that way, because it's always been, when I just let things happen their own way, they tend to happen well. But there's a trap there where I'm going to miss out on a lot of things in life, because it's like, well, I waited for it and it didn't come. So there are certain things in my life that I've needed to push at certain times. Like, if we don't get this done right now, it's never going to happen. And I think that Allie and I have kind of settled into a life where we're complacent and we know what we want to do, and we're very settled in. And at times we need to shake that up a bit and go, I think it's time to finally do this. I think we need to start looking into doing this so that it happens, because otherwise
makes risk more interesting too.
Yeah.
I like that. I can relate. But me personally, I'll fucking put my eggs in all kinds of baskets. Like, I love doing 29 things and just seeing, like, listen, something's got to stick, damn it, because by the time, 10 years from now, some of these are going to be some beautiful flowers I've grown,
Right.
some beautiful plants I've watered. But right now it's just a bunch of gross little seedlings. So I can relate. I like the just letting things kind of unfold and happen organically around you.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared of making those big steps a lot.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like, even with the podcast, like, I feel like there's things I could be doing to, like, get it bigger and, like, making it grow. And I'm like, well, let me just hold back, wait till it all kind of falls into my lap, just like everything else with the podcast. Like, I don't even remember if I talked about it with my brother or something, but he just bought me a microphone one day. And I was like, oh, looks like I got to start it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge catalyst. And I was like, good thing I didn't I don't know what I would have bought.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that came to be. And then interfaces, and now I'm onto this. And I have a couple people come to you with their podcasts, you said? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
To, like, edit and stuff and, like, kind of.
Yeah. Or, I mean,
I came to you with mine. What am I saying? I don't even need to ask you.
I would say that since I started the Are We Okay podcast, which was 2016, there hasn't been more than a few months that somebody hasn't asked for advice or something, which I'm happy to do. But then it took off last year, and now I'm either helping people edit their podcasts, or I'm meeting them for coffee to discuss how do you even get a podcast off the ground? How do you get it onto the internet? How do you make it stick? How do you promote it? Which I don't have a secret for. I think, especially with your own backyard, when people are asking, how did you get so much attention for that? I'm not the person to ask about that. It hit at the right time. I really took my time with it, and I made sure that I was doing it in a way that I thought was correct. And then it just snowballed. It was word of mouth, totally word of mouth. I didn't pay a penny to promote it anywhere or advertise. There's no ads in the podcast itself. There weren't billboards. There weren't anything. Wow. So it happened the way that it did.
I mean, you chose the right topic, evidently.
Yeah. And it was just, for that case specifically, it was a case that had been dormant for so long, and people knew the name, so they're interested, but they didn't really know the details, or even if they thought they knew the details, there were so many they didn't, that once they heard other people talking about it, you have to check out this podcast, that they started listening, and they were like, oh my God, there's a lot here. I mean, it's essentially a 7-hour documentary about this girl's life and her disappearance and the aftermath and what her family has dealt with. I think pretty much anybody can put it on and get sucked into it, even if they didn't know the name. But I think it was sorely missing in this community, was that we know this girl is missing, but nobody's talking about it at length. And if they were, we would listen. Yeah. So I think I just filled a niche that needed. I think there's a strong possibility that if I tried to repeat it, it wouldn't happen the same way twice. And I'm very careful with that, because people keep asking, when is your second season? Well, the first season isn't done yet. It's real life. It's like, it's happening in real time. You're seeing the waves of what happened. It's being talked about. And now the sheriff's department is announcing each time there's a new search warrant. They're telling the public, hey, we're going to this house today to look for items of evidence. And it's not done until she's either home or he's arrested or something. But I certainly don't want to start a season 2 just so that I'm putting something out. And I think people are so hooked on that Crime Junkie or My Favorite Murder style, where it's just every week we're going to talk about a different case. I don't want to do that. I'm not the right person to do it. And I really like to take my time with things and try to do them in a way that I think is the best that I can do. And for me, it's crafting a podcast the way I craft an album, which is I want it to be a whole experience. Yeah. And that's going to take some time. So I don't want to rush into it. And when I do pick up a new case, if I do pick up a new case, I want to make sure that it's something that would benefit from that and is not just me talking about it for the sake of talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how to put it into words. If you didn't take your time with it,
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, because other people have had podcasts about this. Other people have posted videos about this.
Yeah. There were a lot of people before I put out the first episode who heard that I was working on a Kristen Smart podcast that were not the slightest bit interested, because they pictured in their head some guy in his garage just talking about this girl went missing and nobody knows where she is for 25 minutes.
You had a production. It's to even compare it to normal podcasts is a disservice to what you did, because it's really a documentary, and you have so many sound bites, inserts, interviews. Like, it's just an audio documentary.
Yeah. There are podcasts that do that really well.
Oh, yeah?
That I was looking up to I want that level, like Serial.
Okay.
Where it's like when the first season of Serial came out and you hear her driving the route and you like hear them interviewing people who were there and know what happened. It's like, I want to reach for that, because to me, that's top shelf journalism in podcasting. But I've totally lost my train of thought right there.
That's okay. I keep doing it too.
What was I saying? But one of the pet peeves that I have that's just sort of my own personal
what is it?
cross to bear is now that it's gotten so much attention and there's like a Facebook group dedicated to discussing it all the time, and there's newspaper articles coming out constantly and people commenting, and that is even people who loved my podcast are like, I want like Crime Junkie to talk about this, or they want it to be on their favorite podcast.
Yeah.
And to me, that feels a little bit like, hey, I really sunk 2 years of my life into telling this story and really taking my time with it. And I get that you want to hear your favorite podcast discuss it, but is that going to be more helpful than what's already been done? And then two, a lot of people will comment and be like, I love the podcast, but somebody needs to make a documentary about this now. And that feels a little bit like, I mean, it would essentially just be doing what I did with cameras. Yeah. And that's not going to help that much more.
My imagination wasn't good enough. I need pictures, please. Moving pictures.
That's what they're saying.
But I don't know that people, maybe they don't know to the extent that they're talking about, like, we need to get this on Netflix, because if it got that amount of attention, then they would have to solve it. And for one, the downloads are in the million. I mean, millions of downloads, which I'm not bragging. I'm saying it's got a lot of attention.
I would be.
It's gotten a lot of attention. And two, Netflix came to me. Like, several different people came to me with offers to produce it. And I'm still getting emails regularly from people who are saying, we want to know if you want to option this story. To me, for one, it's not my story to option. It's like, I know that you want to take the format of the podcast and make it into a documentary TV series. Yeah. Talk to her parents about that. Like, talk to the people who actually matter. Their opinions matter in this. Her parents don't want to move forward with a TV series right now. They want to give the sheriff's department some time to react to what's been discussed and to finish up on what they've been doing. And if enough time passes, they'll get annoyed with that and they'll want to push harder. But right now we're in a place where it's like, I don't want to do a series about it. They don't want a series done about their daughter. Let's just let it be what it was. I am happy to make a new episode when it's time. But right now people are like, are you going to do a new episode about the search that happened? Well, you know probably almost as much about the search that I know.
There's no new light I'm shedding here.
I know just a tiny bit more than the public knows, because I talk to the family all the time, and I'm in good with the sheriff's department, and I'm in good with some people who are involved with those searches. But it's not enough to fill out an hour-long episode, and you don't want me to put out a 2-minute bonus episode to catch you. It's just not enough. There will be a new episode when it's time for there to be a new episode, but I don't know. I guess I'm just ranting because it annoys me to see people discuss what they think will help, and in reality it's like, I don't think that will help as much as you think it will help. I mean, what cases have been on a Netflix series that have been successfully resolved?
The ones that are resolved, they've already been resolved. Yeah. Then they put
even like Making a Murderer, where people were talking about it and people were signing petitions to get these people out of jail. It ultimately hasn't led to anything actually happening. It's great that so many people are involved or interested, or same with the Adnan Syed case in the first season of Serial.
Okay.
People were really fired up about like, this guy's innocent. We need to get him out of prison. We need to help him appeal this. And he exhausted his appeals. I don't know if he has more coming up, but they were denied. And so I get that people think that if a case is featured on their favorite TV show or their favorite podcast, that stands a chance of finally cracking it open. But I think they're kind of a little bit
Naive.
Yeah. It's an idealistic way of thinking. If they just talked about it on a national TV show, that would shake things up.
I'm guilty of that same thing because there's certain people where I'm like, oh, if only this thing that I like was on this podcast, then everyone would like it and I would be validated. I think people are just trying to like puppet what would validate them and know that like, hey, maybe everyone would take me and my interests seriously if it was on one of the legitimate interests I have type of thing. So I don't know. I think it can come from a lot of people like very skeptical because it's like weird culture of like binging things. And like, I don't let TV shows waste my time. I'm like, I'm either going to watch this for the next 7 days straight. Or it's going to bore me the first 5 minutes and I go, nope, not happening. Never again. Fuck off. So...
And I know there are people who did that with my podcast. I read some pretty negative comments on Reddit, and there was actually one podcast that reviews podcasts who decided not to review mine because of how much they hated the first 5 minutes of the first episode. And they were like, we're not even going to review this. But then they spent 25 minutes talking about why they weren't going to review it, which is essentially a review. And they were, it was really exaggerated, like, talking about how terrible this podcast is, and it's just like clearly so amateurish and stuff. And it's like, okay, I mean, it can't be that bad. I mean,
it can't be that bad.
I've heard terrible podcasts, and it's like, I mean,
tell them to listen to the first 20 episodes of my podcast and then give yours a retry. Jesus. What a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, but
a podcast reviewing podcast sounds like the most asshole thing. Jesus. What a bunch of doofuses.
Yeah. But that's not the stuff that should matter. It doesn't really matter what a podcast reviewing podcasts or people on Reddit thought about it as much as it matters what the community thought, what the sheriff's department thought, and whether or not it had an impact on their investigation, which it has. It's brought in a lot of tips and leads that they followed up on now. And most importantly, what her family thinks. It was that ultimately I wasn't even going to do it if her family didn't want it done. And now we actually formed a pretty good friendship with their family, and now they keep in touch with us, and we talk every other day or so. And when we do, it's briefly about what's going on with the case and mostly about just our personal lives now. Kristen Smart's mom bought us an Instant Pot and mailed it to us.
I could cry right now.
And
I already cried for the month, but I could cry.
Every few days or so, she'll check in with us and see what we're making for dinner in the Instant Pot. And her birthday was the other day, and we played bingo with her on Zoom and had a blast. And it's like, I would much rather have this sort of relationship with her and pace myself and put out a new episode when it's time.
Then go meet with Netflix.
Yeah. Or then sell this or to just rush into, I'm going to put out 20 more episodes so that I can keep telling this story or make money or get more downloads or whatever. It's like, I'm very content with what was already done and what will be done later on down the road. And it won't be that much. I'm not going to let that much time pass if nothing is actually being done. But in this year alone, there's been 5 search warrants now that the public knows about that have been national headline news. And I have faith that it's about to crack open. It's like it's happening, and I am fully willing to allow it time to breathe and not push too hard, even though I'm right there. I'm right there ready to push if I need to.
Yeah.
I'm not on anybody's side. It's like there was somebody the other day who said that they didn't, they had a tip that they wanted to share, but they didn't want to share it with me because they felt like I was too pro law enforcement. And it's like, how do you listen to that podcast and come away thinking...
Did I do that? No, just kidding.
How do you come away thinking that I was pro law enforcement? I really kind of ripped into all of their failures.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, for you to say like you got it in good with the sheriffs. I'm like, oh really?
They were upset when they met me. They were like, we didn't like that you said this. We didn't like that you don't understand this. But by the end of it, we got on the same page. Like we sort of won each other over, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would in no terms say, oh, I'm so pro law enforcement now.
I'd be so scared if a bunch of like cops came up and they're like, listen, asshole, A, B, and 3. Bullshit. Why'd you say that? We're nice, right? Cops and guns and shit in your face.
I'm being respectful and I'm allowing them time to do what they do, what their jobs are.
So what'd the person do? They with the tip, they were afraid.
They shared the tip with somebody else.
Okay.
So now that tip is being discussed, and which is fine. But I was like, why didn't they come? I mean, I get so many tips regularly. I didn't get that one. And the person who got the tip was like, oh, they said they didn't want to talk to you because they thought you were too pro law enforcement. But they also said they didn't listen to your podcast. Like, what? Then how did they decide I was pro law enforcement?
Where did they surmise this?
I have no idea. Maybe my Facebook post where I said, hey, I interviewed the sheriff's department, and they're like, he's on their side. I'm not on anybody's side.
The people can be so close-minded when they're like, oh, you even interviewed the other side?
Right.
When I think people are too divisive in their own heads.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this where I'll have like, oh, there's a red team and a blue team, or there's a good guy or a bad guy type of thing. And I've done that my whole life. I used to like, even with Coca-Cola and Pepsi, I'm like, clearly one's better than the other Coca-Cola. And the other one's like the gross bad guy version, right? So
right.
People, good for you for having the stamina to just like field through all that shit. Because I'm sure that maybe there's a credible tip that person had.
Right.
But also maybe there's been 10,000 different people just coming at you with bullshit, clogging your fucking
Yeah,
your
I think I'm
feed
getting pretty quick at determining early on whether or not it's credible or not.
And who's wasting your time.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily wasting my time. I think everybody is coming at it with good intentions and they want to help, but a lot of times it's just something they heard that can't be substantiated, and it doesn't really help me. Still send it to me. I mean, you don't know, because there might be something that you don't think is important that is actually massively important. So share anything you can, especially with the sheriff's department, not necessarily just me, but there are other things that people send to me that it's like, I would really love to look into this, but you didn't leave your name or your phone number or any way to get a hold of you. Or like I got a tip the other day that said, check out this address, and like her body is buried in the backyard. And it was in like way Northern California, completely far away from any connection to anybody. I looked up the real estate records for that house and saw the names of everybody who ever lived there. No connection whatsoever that I know of to the case. And they didn't say why they think she's there. So it's like, you didn't leave me a way to get a hold of you or to verify who you are or why you're telling me this. And 2, you didn't even tell me why to look. You just said, hey, look here. But people could do that all day. You could just send tips in and be like, look in this backyard, look in this backyard. And if you want the sheriff's department to follow up with it, you want them to dig up the backyard and actually look for her, you need to have a damn good reason why they're going to do that, because it costs a lot of money to get that equipment and get a search warrant for that yard. You have to establish to a judge why you need a search warrant for that yard. It's just, there's so much that goes into it that you got to make sure that the tip that you're sending actually has some legs to it.
Yeah, give it some validity. Maybe there's some...
And it very well could be. There, with things like this, that what frustrates me about it is there's no way of knowing that she's not in a location until you search there for her. And so when somebody says something like this, I think more than likely there's no connection here, but there could be, and that kills me. I just want to know more than anything still. I think I said this the first time I was on your podcast. I just want to know where her body is right now.
Yeah.
I would love to know how she died and where her body was first like moved to and all of the details. But more than anything, it's like, I just want to know where she is right now. I want her parents to have her back and have that be over with, and let the sheriff's department deal with all the aftermath of who's going to be punished for this and what the punishment should be. I don't really care, but the part about finding where her body is keeps me up at night still.
I bet. I couldn't imagine what you dream about and have nightmares about because of this.
Yeah.
I'm a very visceral dreamer. You know,
too.
I have
Yeah.
dreams like, oh wow, that happened yesterday, and then I dreamt about this shit happening.
Yeah.
That sounds haunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got them rough sometimes, and then I kind of pass that on to Allie sometimes. So I talk about it so much that sometimes she dreams
That's
about it.
right. She had said something to
Yeah.
me. I don't know if it was when she was on the podcast, but she said even she was having dreams about the case and stuff.
It took over our lives for a good 6 months or so, and it's still a very big part. Like, what was it, April 22nd? So like a week and a half ago, they just executed another search warrant at Paul's house in San Pedro. I don't know if you saw it on the news or on Facebook.
I saw a headline. Yeah.
It was headline news all over the place, and it went right back to where it was, which is Court TV's trying to get a hold of me. NBC,
just
CBS,
flip
like,
of a switch, just like that, huh?
yeah, they need you,
Oof.
and they want me that day, and they want me on camera. That's the thing they're all pushing for, and I keep declining on-camera interviews. So they're like, "Can we get you to drive to a studio, and we'll like film you long distance, and like let you Skype with them?" No. And then they're like, well, can you Skype from your own house? And it's just, for one, the family has asked that we not do that. Like, the family is in a position now where they're declining interviews, and they've hired a publicist who takes care of that for them. The publicist offered to work for me, like pro bono, just anybody who wants to talk to you, pass them off to me, I'll deal with it.
Nice.
When it comes down to it, we will talk to Dateline. We're going to talk to 48 Hours. All of the big networks are waiting for a resolution. And it's like, yeah, once it's resolved, once there's something to actually talk about, I'm happy to sit down and do the right thing and just tell you how I got involved with this, and we can talk about the impact it had, and the family's willing to talk. But right now, there's just nothing for us to say. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that the sheriff's department is only giving us a tiny piece of. And
what a disservice it would be to the whole scenario for them to just fucking gobble it up and just shit it out as more content,
right?
Instead of having the whole story and case and resolution,
right?
And
that's what Denise Smart was saying, that people have approached her for years about writing a book about this. And she's like, why do you write a book that doesn't have an ending? Why would you put out a book?
Damn, I could cry again.
Yeah.
That fucked me up when you said that.
Wait until Kristen is found and then let somebody write a book about it. Like, wait until Kristen is found and let somebody make a Lifetime movie about it. But right now, all it is mystery, which I get how that's appealing to people. But I kind of feel like the story has been told as completely as it could be told without knowing everything that happened.
Here's why. I think here's why. Because they know that they could have a sequel to this.
Right.
There's an additional story. There's an additional, like, this is continuous. If they latch onto it now, then they have more opportunity for episodic things, more opportunity for headlines, clickbait, and all of this.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something I'm very much trying to stay out of.
Okay.
I understand that people want to do that. I want to stay out of it. I did my best to tell this story with integrity and with a way that the family was comfortable with, but that also pushed back at law enforcement. Like, hey, you guys messed up here. You messed up here. You messed up here. There were so many mistakes made along the way that when you look at them from a distance, it's unbelievable. And there had been one guy locally had attempted to make a newspaper about it that was sort of divisive. Some people hated his style. Some people loved it. And then you had Dennis, who moved across the country to tell this story, and to kind of push back at the Flores family was his main goal. And then to talk about why that backyard needs to be dug up, why Paul's mom's backyard needs to be looked at. That was his mission, and that's still very much his mission. And so they did it in their way, and I tried to step in and do it in my way. And that's kind of, I think I did the best job I could do with what I had at the time. And until I know more, there's no reason for me to keep doing it. I didn't do this to become a true crime podcaster. I didn't do this to be the guy. I have no interest in that. Did you see the speech that I gave at the Chamber of Commerce? It was on Facebook. Like, people were sharing it a lot for a little while there.
Yeah.
They asked me to speak at, I think they call it Good Morning San Luis Obispo.
I believe so.
And they asked me to speak last. They started telling me as I was waiting in line to get in, they were like, everybody is here to see you.
You're
like,
the headliner.
people took off work to come see you, and it put a lot of pressure on me. So I didn't know what I was going to say. And they said, you have 5 minutes deadline. Like you can't talk for more than 5 minutes. And so I wrote out what I wanted to say. And the very first thing I said when I got on stage was, my name is Chris Lambert. I'm a singer-songwriter. To me, that was hilarious. Like
that's I was like, oh shit, I got to talk to him about being a comedian, because he opened strong like that. That was great.
And the weird thing too is I got laugh breaks. Like people laughed at the things I was saying because I was being a little light about it.
All the tension of waiting for this dude to say things, and it's going to be serious. He better not, pinch my titties too hard with it. I better get some freaking tension release here. So your commentary is probably like, you're not an unfunny person. You know what I mean? So,
but that was, to me, to open it that way, I'm a singer-songwriter, was a little bit self-deprecating, where it's like, it makes no sense that I'm here. I write songs. That's what I do. I tried this thing and it had this impact and people are talking about it.
There's going to be a day when you being so humble like that is going to cross over into like almost disingenuous humility, because you're going to be bigger than that. Like just by default, like whether it's up to you or up to media or up to just like this whole image of it. One of these days that joke's not going to work, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because everyone's going to be like, yeah, okay, sure. Like Henry Rollins is always talking about like, oh, I'm just some big dumb idiot grump with no sex life. And it's like, okay, yeah, but you're also like a millionaire and famous, and we bought tickets to see you.
Right.
Like,
and there's nothing worse too than seeing somebody try to be funny and self-deprecating when their life is so much better than yours. But yeah, I think I'm in a position where it's like, if you saw where I produced this podcast, like it's a dining room table. Yeah. It's literally a dining room table covered in papers. And that's where I did all of it. And people who wanted to interview me, like the news, wanted to come over and they're like, can we film you in your recording studio? I don't have a recording studio. I mean, this was a completely homemade project, and you would think less of me if you saw where I did it. Or maybe you'd come see it and go, wow, he had only this going for him and he still managed to get this kind of traction.
So much more romantic when you see like the real situation and like there's a realness to it. And I think that's something that really transcended, really came across nicely, is your integrity and just the whole you're just so genuine. There was a real sincerity, and you could tell you really care and you're really interested. And like you said, you took your time, crafted this really well done podcast, no matter what other podcast reviewers say. Those stupid fucks. So, I mean, damn, dude, like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you started somewhere really nice, romantic, and it's like, this is the thing, like, stories start in.
Yeah.
Like it really
I'm just like, it's important for me to, it's like, let's not forget where I came from. It's like, it's still important to highlight, I am still a songwriter, and this is something I did. And yes, it gained a lot of traction, and I'm really glad that there was something that came out of it. And I'm glad with like the way that it's moving forward, and I'm sitting on the sidelines prepared to do more if I need to. But right now, I'm excited to make music again. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
I'm excited for you to make music again.
I have 10 songs done for a new album.
Nice.
That I've started working on since this lockdown thing.
Oh, wow.
That is where I'm at right now, is I want to make music again. And there's so many opportunities I've had talent agents who really pushy have reached out to me. Some of the biggest podcasters have reached out and said they want to put out my podcast on their podcast label network, essentially. Yeah. Which is cool of them, but I'm very finicky with like, I'm not sure if this is the right time, and I'm not sure what their motivation is.
There would be nothing worse than your podcast to get interrupted by Blue Chews, or something.
I hate that, and I don't want to go that route. But at the same time, there's a part of me, like a pragmatic part of me, that's like, it was a little foolish of me to not take advantage of the opportunity to make money off of this, when the amount of money I could have made for the amount of attention that it got is not negligible. It's like it's money that could have been put into my future. It's like future kids' college money kind of money. It was stupid in a way, but I stand by it, and I would do it again the same way tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that
very
what
respectable.
it would have taken away from the podcast is not something that you can buy. You know what I mean?
I do.
I get that I could have made a living off of this, or that I could have launched a career as a podcaster who does things like this and advertises and just puts out bonus episodes.
And no
because
one's
it's
saying
more,
you still can't do that.
Right.
Maybe this
Down
isn't
the
the
road.
place to do it.
yeah, but I think there's something to it that I went through it, and I can look back and go, yeah, probably a mistake not to use the opportunity, but I'd still do it that way again. That means that
Good.
the benefit of having done it the way that I did feels better for me than it would to have made money off of this. There would be a part of me that felt weird about making money off of this. People did donate. There's a lot of push for me to do a GoFundMe, and I didn't want to do it. So Dennis Mann, who was the other Kristen Smart activist, who started the Facebook group and stuff, he started his own GoFundMe for me and then started transferring me the money, which was very nice of him. And then people asked me to do a PayPal, and people asked me to do a Venmo. And so I set all those things up, but I've never asked for them. I've never put an ad in the podcast saying, here's how to donate to me. It's just a tab I added to my website. Like, if you want to donate, you can. And there's people who really, really, they feel good about donating to something that they feel like was a good cause. They're like, I like that you did this. I like the attention you got for this case and the way that you handled it. And I want to give money to you. And so even if you're not asking for it, please let me find a way to it's the best they can do. It's like what they feel like they can do. You
It's very
did this and
endearing.
looked into it, and I want to help fund that, which is really sweet of them. And it's something that, has really helped. I mean, they've essentially donated back to me the amount of money that I would have made by keeping my job that whole time. And so it's like I never quit my job to do this in the first place.
I mean, shit.
Which is super cool.
Breaking evens, like best case, best worst case scenario.
Yeah. And so I don't know.
I would
I don't
have.
know
I would have respected either decision, whether it was something where you would have embraced getting more legitimate business wise, or just like you did it the way you did it.
Right.
Really independent and very, that's great. I really admire.
Yeah. Right now,
that
the
you
best
had that
place,
integrity.
Yeah, the best place for me to be right now is completely independent. And so I don't want to sign with a network. I don't want to do a TV series, and I don't want to talk to the news or these TV shows until it's appropriate and the family agrees that it's appropriate, and then I'm all there for it. I'm happy to do whatever I can, but it's not the wisest decision right now, and so I'm just trying to play it correctly. I'm trying to follow through and do things with integrity and do things the way they should be done without any, and I say this without any of that false humility. Like we're talking about, when I say I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm being serious. Like
He is.
I'm up here. The funny part about it is that for that Good Morning San Luis Obispo thing, it's leaders, like city leaders in suits. Everybody's wearing a tie. Like everybody is higher up the food chain than I am. And so for me to be on that stage and them to be like excited for what I'm going to say, it's like, let's not forget I am a singer-songwriter, and that's not why you invited me here today. Yeah, I'm not here to talk about my music, even though I've been doing that for more than half of my life. I'm here to talk about this weird risk that I took that by some fluke ended up being something you're interested in having me be a guest speaker for. It's great. I'm happy to do it, but I'm not, basically I tried to turn the message into a positive, which was you could be doing this too. If I could do this, like I'm the least qualified person in this room to do anything like this, and I did it. So you try something, I'm ready to get back to songwriting, but I'm not going to neglect that I tried a thing and it worked out and things happened because of it. Yes, that's wonderful. I'm not taking it for granted, but I also don't want to act like there are other podcasters who have gotten involved with an unsolved crime, and the crime has been either pushed forward or resolved in some way that they then tried to take full credit for, and there's nothing cringier to me than
That's cheap.
hearing a guy introduce himself as the guy whose podcast solved the crime. And it's like, well, you're neglecting all of the years of police work. You're neglecting the fact that in your podcast, you weren't even on the same path to the suspect who eventually turned himself in.
You're just one ingredient in the big stew.
Right. And that's very much how I want to. When this is resolved, people are like, you should get the reward money. No, I shouldn't. The reward money is specifically set aside for people who come forward with information about what happened to her and where her remains are located. And so, yes, if I find out where she is and that leads to her being found, then yeah, but I don't want the reward money just because I raised a lot of hell and got a lot of people talking about it. I'm glad I did that, but I'm very much that I think I did what I can do for right now. Until I learn more, until I can move forward with more, I think I did what I can do, and it's time for me to write songs again because that's who I really am, you know? And who's to say that I won't take a break from caffeine for a month, have one Vietnamese coffee, and come up with a completely different idea for a new project that has nothing to do with true crime, it has nothing to do with podcasting, that won't be some new venture that I try. That's how I am. I kind of wanted to talk to you about that because I just listened to your last week's episode with Kylie, and it struck me how you and I have, we're very lucky to be in a position where our girlfriends are very supportive of the things that we want to try to do.
Oh, I know.
And I kind of heard that coming from Kylie and thinking that's something that I really appreciate in my relationship with Allie that I don't talk about a lot because there's not an opportunity for me to reflect on that. But being in a position where she got into a relationship with a local singer songwriter. That's what I played at coffee shops. That was like the extent of what I did. And then in the time she's been with me, I've put out 11 albums and, tried all these weird things where it's like, I want to start an interview podcast and have people in our house every week. And I did it and she put up with it, but not just put up with it. She was very excited for it and promoted it. And then she got this idea to do a magazine and I was excited for it and helped with it and was a small part of that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I want to try to solve this missing person, like this crime that happened locally. I know that you didn't think this is what you were signing up for when you started dating me. You thought I just was going to play in coffee shops, and I don't know what you thought our future was going to be like, but it certainly didn't include this. And yet I did it, and now we've got, news people knocking at our door. And people who
something. She took a gamble, or she's just, sheer dumb luck.
But to not have somebody who is constantly trying to talk you out of doing those things where it's like, I don't know if that's a smart idea for you to do that. What about this? And what
I've never heard that from my end.
Yeah. But I think we're lucky in that. I think maybe we shouldn't take that for granted that there's a lot of people who are in relationships that are not supportive of those weird, I'm going to try this thing now. And then they're just like, okay, how can I help? Cool. And every step along the way, there's never been a serious, we need to talk about this. You're getting a little crazy. The things that you're doing are way out there. They're unrealistic.
Well, maybe you're not pushing the envelope, Christopher. Oh, man. I can't wait to be that person for her. I mean, I try to be as much as I can, but the second she has something that she's ready to embrace, I hope to be even a sliver as supportive as she's been to me too. So I'm happy you can appreciate that. Ready for a break?
Yeah, I need to stretch my leg.
Yeah, all right. Be right back. You said every fucking day is the same?
Yeah, since the lockdown started, there's been every day from one day to the next just bleeds into it. And there's nothing that separates one day from another. And so my memory is totally shot. If you ask me, what were you doing last Tuesday or what were you doing this morning? And you put me on the spot, I draw a total blank because I think what it is that when you do something unique every day, you know what I mean? it stands out as a landmark in your mind, and you're like, oh, right, the day that we went to this restaurant and then we saw these people, that's the day that we were watching this movie. But now it's just like, oh yeah, every single day is pretty much just a repeat of what happened the day before. We're chipping away at things, and I'm moving into new areas and stuff, but it's really, my memory is shot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. My memory's really shot. That's one of my biggest insecurities with comedy is I can't remember anything on stage. As soon as I'm up there, I've forgotten everything. I've forgotten how to be funny. I forgot who I was. If I wrote it down, I forgot why that made sense.
Yeah.
That's always was my number one problem.
Yeah.
With even attempting comedy or comedy in my mind was like, the second I go on stage, it's gone.
Yeah.
There's no it's gone. I don't know what happened. It's like, oh, I'm up here with a microphone in my hand and now jokes have to happen.
Right.
But I don't remember them. I literally want to victimize myself where I'm like, but I can't remember anything. I can't be a comedian. I seriously, it is one of my biggest fucking problems. A horrible memory when it comes to that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of those comedians have worked out over the years a system where they write one trigger word down on their set list that will remind them of what's funny or what the bit is about. But if you start to write out sentence by sentence what you're going to say, or I need to get from here to here to here, then you have to memorize it. And then it's like being in a play. And then you have to deliver it as if you're not memorizing it and it's not coming from your memory. And so I think the way they've developed to do that is each time you tell it in front of an audience, you tell it a little bit differently as long as you get to the punchline. And eventually you'll start to memorize it by default. You won't even realize you're memorizing it. You just know how it works now. And so when you see that word, you're like, right, I know this 10-minute bit that I have about this, and I know how it goes from one to another, but I've never written it down because if I did, it would sound like I was reciting.
It does, because I have things that I wrote, like my last set went much better than the immediate one immediately before that. And I had just written bullet points down and just maybe a couple sentences out.
Yeah.
But the one that I wrote the most shit out for, I've I'm still new. I still have my notebook right up there on the stool with me, and it's fucking embarrassing because it's like, oh, I just said it exactly how I wrote it down, but then it sounded like I just read something off a piece of paper that I just wrote down. Yeah. That wasn't funny. That sucks. But I'm so interested in to know how certain comedians write. Like one of my favorite fucking parts of the whole Comedian documentary was Orny Adams showing all those notebooks.
Yeah. The file cabinets.
Dude, I was like, oh, I'm not writing enough.
Yeah.
Like I thought for sure. I was like, I have things here, 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 and here.
Yeah.
But damn, he had file cabinets and he has the different folders where he's like, here's a joke on, here's my new jokes, here's religion, here's Jews. It's just like, you have all these different ones you can just mix around, and like he's like, if I need one, and I was like, fuck, dude, a filing system. I don't know. There's something that makes me so fucking horny about organization.
Yeah.
So I love the art, the craft, the way people are doing it. I don't know how Louis writes. I would love to know how Louis writes. Does he do bullet points? Does he Burr? He doesn't write things down. He just memorizes it. But recently I was listening to Burr's podcast, Monday Morning Podcast, and he's like, I don't even know what I wrote down here. And he writes bullet points for his podcast. And I was like, I do that too. Thank God. I'm on some semblance of the same track.
Right.
So that was a big deal. But then like Seinfeld will take legal pads, write the whole joke out, and memorize it and do it perfect.
Yeah.
And he does it really well.
And he does it like a desk job, from what I understand. He does like a 9 to 5 every weekday. I'm going to sit down and write jokes, which is the responsible way to be. But I think it only works for some people. There's a lot of comedians that would sound stale if they did it that way.
I had to write shit on my wrist in Walmart because I was like, fuck, I can't touch my phone because I'm wearing gloves and I'm touching other things. But I'm like, I can get away with the pen. That's fine. I can get the pen. And then I had to write shit down on my wrist, and it's literally, I don't even know what it says, but those jokes are gone. Those jokes are fucking gone. But I'm like, I have to write it down immediately because when the moment I sit, excuse me, the moment I sit down in front of a friggin' laptop, all creativity and all interest in comedy gone. Goes, nope, this is boring now. You've ruined it.
Right.
You've ruined what you like about comedy. But I'm like, but no, I want to be like this. I want to be like a fucking writer. I want to have like the coffee and the cigarette ashtray filled with the day's work, and want to fucking just be hunched over and and just get it out and bleed on the fucking thing, whatever Bukowski's twat ass said.
And we talked about, I think last time I was on, we talked about Stephen King on writing.
It's literally right here. I always have it within arm's reach of me because,
Yeah.
you know why.
Yeah. I'm a very routine, like I get excited by routine until I burn myself out on it and then I need to take a break from it, which is why I wrote the last songs for my last album at like the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and then started the Kristen Smart podcast and have been doing that for a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And so like a month ago when it was finally like, okay, they executed search warrants, like things are going well, they're working and I can sort of relax a little bit. And also we're mandatory, like supposed to stay home, we're locked in. All of a sudden I was like, oh my God, the idea of writing music again sounds like something I miss doing. And the routine of sitting down at a desk, keeping your ass in the chair and making sure you do it every single day is how I started writing songs again. So now I've got a full album's worth of songs that I think are pretty good that I can make better in the next couple weeks by workshopping them.
Fine tuning.
Right. And I'm doing a whole new system for that I've been perfecting. Each time I do an album, I do it a little differently. When I did my last album, it was the first time that I didn't record demos. I played the songs every day on acoustic guitar, and then I put the guitar away and I picked them up the next day, and I kept doing that. And what that did is it allowed the songs to change shape over time, because if you record a demo and you keep listening to the demo, you start to fall in love with the way that demo was structured, and you don't allow the song to change. But if you pick up a guitar and play it from scratch, kind of like working out a bit in front of an audience, it changes organically. And by the time I actually put it down on tape, it was a different structure. You know what I mean?
Yes, dude, there's nothing I love more than seeing a band live and knowing a song they're playing and it sounds different.
Yeah.
It's like, I know this is the song. I recognize those chords and the chorus, but that verse is in the wrong spot. They skipped the whole
people
intro.
hate that. When people see a band live, they don't like that. But
when I was a kid, no, I did not like that. When I saw Godsmack and they skipped the intro to Voodoo, I was very disappointed. But now when I see bands and they just they don't have sound bites on the album. They have to go straight into chords. I'm like, oh shit. And then it sounds different, or because musicians, just like comedians, will get so sick and tired of their material that they have to grow out of it just for themselves, just as artists. And that's beautiful. I love that.
So that's what makes me my writing hack with the last album was, how about you work out all the kinks before you put it on tape or show it to anybody, so that by the time it makes it onto an album, you already love the version it's become, because you started with this really rigid idea and you allowed it to change, and now you recorded the version that you consider the definitive one, and that's how you introduce it to people. With this album that I'm working on now, I've taken it a step further. So now what I'm doing is I'm recording demos, but I'm recording a series of demos. So the way that I've been working, I've color coded separate demos. So I've recorded an entire version of the album that is just the purest, most raw. These are the day I wrote them, and here's I could give it to you as a CD and you could listen to it.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do now is re-record the entire album with a different set of rules for myself, where the set of rules for myself in the next iteration might be, you can only use acoustic instruments on this one. The songs have to be at a certain length, or there's rules to it. And then once I record that, I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm going to do another one where now the rules are, you have to mess everything up that you just did on the last demo. Everything that if it was a 3-minute folk song, you're going to take the exact chords and everything, and you're going to play it with only a single keyboard, and you're going to turn it into a 6-minute experimental jazz song using the same lyrics and the same chords, so that by the time I get to the final recorded version of the album that people will hear, the songs have gone through these iterations, and I know what I liked, I know what I didn't like, and they're going to come out on the other side completely different. So that's how I've been keeping myself busy in quarantine, is getting back into the organized routine of songwriting. as something that I actually want to be doing and not something that I feel like I have to be doing. Or I spent so much time doing an album every year, and this is the first time I've taken a 2-year break from doing that. And now it's like, oh my God, I miss songwriting. That's something I know how to do.
I am nauseous with interest. The
If I
more
t-
you talked, the more I was like, oh yeah, the color coding, the demos. Oh, he's changing the instrument. Oh, fuck.
I don't
Dude.
want to sound pretentious because
Too late.
There's a line
Too
to cross.
late. What are we? Hour in? Too late.
There's
handsome.
a line to cross where if I tell you too much, I'm going to sound like an asshole. But what gave me that idea, I watched a documentary about this architect named Frank Gehry, and I think he's in his 80s now. He's been around for a
This
long
will
time.
only sound pretentious to people who have no artistic inclinations. I know exactly where you're going to go with this.
You like we're talking about Stephen King on writing. There's something about reading about an artist and how they craft things that even if you don't do the same kind of art they do, it just it's infectious, and it
so
makes you want to make your own stuff.
Exactly.
So I watched a documentary about this architect, and he's talking about how he designs buildings and stuff. And he starts out with these little cardboard models, and he's showing the documentarian, like, here's this like version 1 of this building, but here's version 2 and here's version 3. And the guy's like, why do you make multiple versions? And he was like, because if I only make one version, I fall in love with that, and then I just want the building to be a big version of that little model. If I make 3 or 4 separate versions of that building in model form, I don't fall in love with any one. It's fluid, and it can change up until the moment it becomes the building. And I stopped it right there and grabbed my notebook, and I was like, that's how I'm making my next album.
Damn!
So it's
What
like,
was the name of this documentary?
it's called The Sketches of Frank Gehry.
Okay.
And it's something that I had no interest in his architecture or anything except that he's an artist, and him talking about creating art and something he's passionate about, it resonated with me in a completely different way. It has nothing to do with buildings, but it was like, oh my God, that's the demo process that I've been trying to work on over the years, is how do you keep from writing a song, and how do you keep from falling in love with the demo version and not just solidifying it and forcing yourself to do exactly what you came up with in the moment? How do I add in weird chords, or how do I get to like these new places where I can do different things if I just write and then record all the time? And so the secret for me has been to just allow it to change over time, take your time with it, just like I did with the podcast, and to get excited about it again, because I don't like making music when I'm forcing myself to make music, or I feel like I need to be doing it for any reason. I want to do it when it feels right. And like I said, I took such a long break away from it to do Your Own Backyard that now songwriting feels like an old friend to me. It's something I really miss.
I could read everything you said in an article and do the same thing you did with the Frank Gehry documentary.
Yeah.
That's, dude, to be inspired by other artists like that. I know you made the comment about being pretentious, but like I said, there's no way that anyone with artistic inclinations can't find some sort of merit and value in what you're saying. Because like I said, I know exactly where you're going with this. You're going to see something and you're going to go, oh, that makes me want to do the thing I like to do that way. And it's literally just filling your toolbox full of different tool. Like, I may not always need this size wrench, but one of these days this size wrench is going to be perfect for the tweaking I need on this craft. And I think that's just like something
I've always taken influence.
You talking about it makes me want to go, I'm sorry, Chris, I got to go right now. You know what I mean?
Right. I've always taken influence from musicians who make music that I don't make. You know what I mean? Like metal or something, or jazz, that has nothing to do with the style of music I make.
Could you give me an example?
So recently I've been listening to this album on repeat. An artist named Esperanza Spalding.
Okay.
And she's a jazz artist and does this kind of experimental avant-garde jazz. She plays stand-up bass, and she did this album a couple years ago where her goal was to live stream the entire writing and recording process, and to try to write and record the entire album from scratch with no material, kind of like Seinfeld going out on the road with no material and trying to workshop it, to record the entire album in 77 hours with no breaks. So she started the clock at 77 hours, and her band was like, okay, anybody got anything? And they had no riffs. They had nothing to go off of. And by the end of those 77 hours, they had to have a finished recorded album. Ugh. So not only to write all the songs on the album, but to
Gross.
work them out, make them good, record them, and clean them up, finish them, and have them be done. And so even though the music on that album sounds nothing like music that I would make, the concept of it makes me want to. It's like, oh my God, the excitement of coming up with material.
It's almost more inspiring because it's easier to take it away from something because you know there's no way someone's going to look at what you create and go, that's so derivative
Right.
of Esperanza. You you just copied her album. And I try hard to kind of stray away from writing material that my favorite comedians, it just sounds like something they're saying.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, clearly this is a perfect Doug Stanhope reincarnation.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I'm trying to do. Like I want to be funny in my own way, but I would love to know like, oh, did you fold up pieces of paper and then, or like the Dave Chappelle special, the one before,
Sticks and Stones.
Yeah, the one right before Sticks and Stones.
Yeah.
He was talking about how he just has like random punchlines he'll put in a fishbowl and he'll just like pull one out. And I was like, oh my God, you can do that? He can do that. I mean, he can do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that, but that's something to do. And
Yeah.
I was like, you can write jokes and like people are okay with it. And I'm like, of course they are. Why wouldn't they be okay? So trying to find my favorite thing right now, the thing I've found to be the most helpful is whiteboards.
Yeah.
I love
Oh, yeah.
whiteboards.
Yep.
Because it's like, it's right there or it's gone. It's a perfect blend between the digital, like deleting concept. Cause it's like, I could erase this very swiftly.
Yeah.
But I'm also having an analog moment where I'm writing this down and it's coming out of the pen and I'm remembering and it's the marker. And it's just like, I can so easily edit this. Or I'm
Right.
like, erase, word, switch. Oh, and my last set I wrote the whole thing out on a whiteboard and it was so cathartic. It was like, oh, this works so much better. I felt like I actually wrote it out. I feel like this is what people should be doing or like comedians talk about doing when they're writing in their own way.
Yeah.
I found it. I think like for right now, that's what I like to do. Whiteboards are my thing. I wrote this entire little outline for you being my guest and like questions on here. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like I have to prepare. It's like my friend coming over,
Yeah.
but I also should be prepared.
Right.
There's no way that I should do something just and expect it to be good because I didn't prepare whatsoever. I'm not no fucking genius. So I wrote it down and I feel quite comfortable with it. And I haven't even had to go to this yet.
Yeah.
That feels great.
Right.
Because this has happened organically.
Yeah.
It's like I have the preparation. So now it's just like, this
It's
is
a
all
net.
muscle.
It's-
It's a
it'll-
safety net.
Yeah. But when I laid out Your Own Backyard,
Yeah.
so I did 6 episodes and I had this whole arc for it. I did it with colored index cards on a cork board. And so I bought a bulletin board and colored index cards and laid out. So like yellow is for when I'm talking, like my narration. Purple is for when you're hearing a recorded interview that I did with somebody. Green is when you're hearing like a tape being played or a news report or something. Red is for pieces that are missing. Like I need to interview this lady, but she never picks up her phone or we can't get together. So I would hold places with red cards and fill everything else in. Then I laid out each episode on this cork board and I could see like, okay, I'm going to start here. Then we jump back to here. We move through this chronologically. We move to this. That leads me into her interview. Then I go to this. I cut to this tape. I talk about this. And then we end at this place. And then I could see with each episode, it's like, oh, I'm missing huge pieces in this one. Like episode 2 is great, but episode 3 is missing all these parts. And I need to make sure to fill those out. So each week and like you're talking about being able to easily erase with index cards, you just pop the thumbtack out and throw it away and write on a new one. And so I was changing, and then you can move stuff around. It's like, I had this as like scene 3. I'm going to move this to scene 7 because that leads me from here to here. And so being able to see stuff and move it around and have that tactile version of what the podcast is going to be kept it from feeling like I'm just sitting in front of a microphone talking about a thing. And instead it's like, no, I have to get a bridge from this interview to this interview. So what do I say that leads us from here to here? Or maybe they're in the wrong order. And
Maybe that's the right formula and right way to do it. I mean, you
it was.
storyboarded your episodes with fucking flashcards.
but
But
there's probably a lot of people who wouldn't do that. It wouldn't benefit them to do it that way maybe. But for me, it sure helped.
I got to look into flashcards because another comedian I really like, I found out he uses flashcards and I did not he's one of those people where I'm like, you're not a flashcards kind of guy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he uses them. And I was like, fuck, maybe there's something to that. So there's just so many different like ways. I speaking of Orny Adams, his last special that came out in Showtime, the one that I got the fucking chance to see a chunk of at the Comedy Store the first time I saw him. There's a point in the show and he gets sidetracked by some crowd work interaction. And he's like, fuck, I forgot where I was.
Yeah.
And he goes to right off stage and he has right next to the curtain his whole set written out in a flow chart. And it goes vertical and then horizontal and then like swoops and then like, I don't know, just something like quick like that.
Yeah.
And I had never seen that.
Yeah.
And I went, oh my fucking God. I don't even care about comedy. I care about this craft bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't I?
Yeah.
And
I'm a nerd for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I see bands in a recording studio, my favorite thing is when they show the progress board on the wall. So it has the track titles of all the songs and it has step by step, like we've already recorded the bass, we're missing the acoustic guitar, we already have the lead guitar. That's how I like to do things. So when I see a band that's doing them, like you're talking about, you see a comedian doing a thing and you're like, oh my God, I'm not too far off from what the actual pros are doing. And to follow that template. Yeah. That's one of the things that I always had a problem with when I was playing in bands with people locally is I felt like the other people that I was in bands with always looked to other local bands for inspiration. They're like, those guys are doing this, so we should be doing that. Those guys played this place, so we should play that place. And I was looking to like The Cure and U2. It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And can we follow that?
I would rather look at people in a position that I want to be in than in a position that I'm not.
Because there were other local bands that it's like, we have a bigger crowd than they do already. I mean, I get that they're doing this and they've got a certain following, but why are we looking to them as like, why reach for that level when we could reach way farther and maybe not reach it, but at least we're trying to get there. And I felt like that was a big setback because I was always pushing for things that it's like, this band does it that way, or I've seen people try this. And they're like, yeah, but these guys that play at the same venues we do don't do it that way. And for me, that felt like that's going to hold us back. If we're looking to people who are at the same level or just above us, that's going to hold us back. We're never going to get beyond that. And that is one of the reasons I don't play in bands. I have a very different mindset than I would have to meet somebody who felt the same way I did.
You need other nerds like you.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe that chemistry wouldn't work in a band to have two people like me. Maybe we would be at each other's throats all the time because we're trying to do the same things in different ways.
I think it would because you got to imagine that successful bands are enough like-minded people that they kind of have some sort of semblance of craft.
Right.
Like there's an idea like, oh, we should absolutely do it this way,
right? Or
at least have some sort of similar structure. I think it's possible. I mean, I don't know if you're looking for a band. But
no, I'm definitely not.
Definitely not. But there's a way to do that. Fuck. It breaks my heart talking about all of this and then remembering none of this is in the near future to like perform.
Why?
Because of coronavirus.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean. I mean, like we can't just go out Friday night, find an open mic and do something.
But this is affording you a lot of time to prepare for that. So that when we are able to do that, you're like, oh man, I have everything ready to go because I've been practicing.
I have nothing to show for it. I've written maybe 3 jokes, which sucks. You know what? My last set I did, it was mostly Corona jokes, but this is before like any quarantine or lockdown.
Yeah.
It was the first time I was in public and there was an absence in people. So I was like, there's quite a lot of people not here. This is weird.
Yeah.
Because it was like Friday, Saturday night, 8:00, something's happening in a small town. Usually there's a crowd just by default because they're like, hey, we're just going to stop here before we go what we want to do at the bar. And there was like no one there. I was like, oh shit. Well, maybe this is why it went so well.
Right.
Less pressure. There's less people here. But I don't have much material. You know what I've been doing? Just making little one-liner, little tweets. Because one of my favorite comedians right now, he's blowing up and he's actually open for Seinfeld a bunch. Mark Normand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Mark Normand?
I have only heard his material years back. I know him. I know who he is.
I would highly recommend his podcast with Joe List called Tuesdays with Stories. Huge Seinfeld fans. They just make Seinfeld references to them. I'm very uninformed when it comes to the uninformed with the Seinfeld show, because I've never watched the whole show all the way through.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing that now. But these two fucking guys are mega fans. And thankfully enough, Joe List would open for Louis, and now Mark Norman opens up for Seinfeld. But they're both big, and they both have specials coming out this month too. So it's like really fucking cool, because they're like headliners, but they're not like megastars like those two. So you get a lot of jokes, or like a lot of stories from the road, and a lot of cool things like that. But Mark Norman just writes joke. He's a joke writing machine. Period. Like whether anyone likes him or doesn't like him, he is writing multiple jokes. I used to just make Facebook posts so I hope like, oh, people will laugh at him. This is going to be funny. I didn't realize I was writing jokes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was a one-liner. That was like a single joke that I made. I said that so people could laugh at it in this format. He is an expert at fucking doing that. So I was just seeing him post every single fucking day, multiple jokes. And I was like, ooh, every time I see a tweet of his, I stop what I'm doing and go, do I have a joke? Can I go write a joke? Is there something I could do a joke about? Like, it has to happen like that. Super instantaneous. Like, so I've just been putting out little stupid throwaway jokes on there.
We've talked about this before. I don't know if it was on mic or not, but we've talked about, you know, that comedian brain thing where when you see another comedian make a joke, you don't actually laugh at it. You go, that's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like a common thing amongst comedians when they share jokes with each other or bits with each other. They don't laugh. They say that's funny, because they're looking at it in an analytical way and they're trying to piece together, how does that work, right?
True.
You posted one the other day. You'll have to correct me on what the punchline was.
Okay.
But it was about that seeing people driving around wearing their masks when they're alone in their car.
Yeah.
And you said, do you wear a condom? What was it?
Oh, I was like, seeing people drive with masks on is like flirting with a condom on.
Right. And my immediate thought was, that's funny. And then I try to punch it up, and it's like, you know what would be funnier to me?
What?
Is seeing people drive around with masks on is like wearing a mask driving your car. Do you drive around with a condom on? Like, to you, repeat it how you said it.
Seeing people driving with masks on is like flirting with a condom on.
Right. And my immediate thought is, it's funnier to me if you subvert where you think it's going, instead of the condom being attached to flirting, if you're also wearing the condom while driving. So it's like driving with a mask on is like having a condom on. Well, see, I'm getting it wrong, but it's like
seeing someone drive with a mask on is like driving with a condom on.
Wearing a mask while you're driving is like wearing a condom while you're driving. You know what I mean? Because then you repeat the exact same thing.
I like
that's not
too.
where you expect it to go.
I like that too, because it's like it's like not a non sequitur, but it's funny. I like that mentality.
Yeah. And so that's how I look at other people's jokes. When I see somebody who is writing bits, my mind immediately goes to, I want to figure out why that bit works, and I want to try to figure out how it could be improved upon, which doesn't necessarily mean it's universally funnier to everybody else, but it's like, if I were making that joke, the joke would be, instead of wearing a condom while flirting, it's like wearing a condom, and you think I'm going to say flirting, but it's like, while driving, just like wearing a mask while driving. It makes no sense. And so I don't know, but that's sort of, I think we've talked about that before, where comedians looking at other comedians' bits. I'm not saying I'm a comedian, but that's, I think that way. I think that way.
Yeah. You have a comics brain, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is sometimes why it's difficult for me to do an interview about this like missing persons case and this thing I did and try to be taken seriously when my default is to be funny about things. And so there's only so far you can go. I think I've been lucky so far in doing like that talk that I did with the Chamber of Commerce, being able to play with that line of, hey, I'm here, but I'm not who you think I am. I'm not the guy you think I am. Let's just be honest here. I think I said I'm a singer-songwriter, and there was like a pause, and I said, you can probably tell that by looking at me. Yeah. And everybody laughed at that. And it's like, I'm trying to be self-deprecating, and I'm trying to keep this lighthearted.
It's funny. I watched that far, and I went, that's funny. And then I stopped it because I didn't want to ruin what I liked about it, because I was like, this is going to go somewhere serious, and then I'm going to resent that he was funny in it. Yeah. So I was like, that's funny. I got to talk to him about that. Yeah. He should be a comedian.
If I remember correct, I made a joke about my mom too, about I was talking about all the places the podcast is charted now. It's like it was number 2 in Australia. It was number 4 in Thailand. It was like in all these places. And I kind of like stopped because it's like, I'm not going to read all of these. And I was like, you can ask my mom if you want the full list. Because like my mom is paying way closer attention to that than I am.
That's
my
so
mom
cute.
for a long time was sending me reviews that I didn't want to read. She's sending me like, do you know how far ahead in the charts you are in this country? And it's like, Mom, that's making me ill to think about. It's so much pressure to think about what people are saying about me and what countries are listening to me. But she's looking at it as like a proud mom. Like, look what you did. Like, people are paying attention across the world. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm so scared of that. I'm not excited about that. I'm terrified by that. But
Do you use Libsyn for that? Oh my God. Do you know how far they can break down where you're getting your downloads?
Oh yeah.
I had no idea. I just found out recently that I do pretty well in LA. So I'm like, what the fuck? That's where all the downloads are coming from?
Mine
like
was
they
big
break
in
it
the
down
Bay
to
Area.
counties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bay Area.
Huge in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Thanks, Joel.
Which was cool. I have friends who live in the Bay Area who like all of their friends at work were listening. They're like, you have to listen to this podcast. And they were like, we know that guy. He's
Yeah.
like a friend of ours.
That's funny.
And yeah, it's weird. But the places that it did well in were shocking sometimes, where it's other countries that I wouldn't expect. It was really big in Scotland or somewhere in the UK. But somebody at one point who was interviewing me, maybe like KSBY or something, was asking for a list of like, where has it charted? And I was like, you want the full list? It's like 166 countries, I think. Was the full list.
Nearly half of all countries.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know why. I don't know why it did well in other countries, or especially ones that don't speak English primarily. I didn't think it would chart in places like that. But
Well, you got to imagine there's English-speaking people in a lot of countries in the world.
And I think other countries are more responsible than we are about being bilingual and keeping up on that stuff. But you would never see a German podcast that was all in German charting in the United States.
Not at all. Fuck no. It'd have to be about David Hasselhoff exclusively. Oh my God. I was gonna say, yeah, India is a surprising place.
Yeah.
Where mine, I don't do well in downloads, period. But I mean, like, for what I do,
The fact that it pops up at all. Yeah.
it pops
Like,
up
what?
double digits in India. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Thank you, India.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's like some Americans, but there's also 1 billion people there. So I'm like, that's pretty good. I got 0.0000018 of all people listening over there. That math's right, by the way. Go check it. Oh man, fuck. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have to piss again.
This is like 4 times since I've been here.
Dude, I know. I drank so much like liquid. I'm a horrible. You know what? It was the energy drink. We were talking about energy drinks. It's that shit. There's so much like taurine and B12 and.
Do you remember the rumor that taurine is bull piss?
Well, you can get it from bull cum, and that's where
Really?
Red Bull, like rumor was like, oh, you're drinking bull jizz, and it's like makes me feel great. Yeah, yeah, no, so absolutely, like you can get that from bull testicles apparently, but you can also get it from other things. But I don't care. Do you know what fig Newtons are from?
No, figs.
Well, no. Beaver asshole.
What?
I'm not kidding. We'll look it up. I got to take
Okay,
a piss.
we're
We'll
gonna
look it up.
Snopes
We're going to
this.
come back. Yeah, we're going to Snopes this. I swear to God. Because one of my teachers told me about it in high school, that bitch. All right, so maybe it's not entirely true about the beaver anuses. I'm going to revert back to these my notes here, my beautiful whiteboard notes. But if you want to talk about comedians or craft or anything like that at any point and stop everything I'm talking about, by all means do
Okay.
that, because I do
I'll
like
interrupt.
that. I love that. Don't interrupt. That's so hurtful. Do you follow any of the fucking like Theo Vaughn, Chris D'Elia, Brendan Shaw podcasts or anything like that?
No, I don't listen to any
Okay.
podcasts, but I know who they all are.
Yeah.
I watch clips, like YouTube clips pulled from.
That's mainly
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's this moment when Brian Callen interrupts Chris D'Elia when he's telling a story, and he has the antidote to everyone interrupting. It is the most glorious thing. I wish I could. I'm not going to do it any justice, but Chris D'Elia is telling a story, saying something. Brian interrupts, and D'Elia just goes, "Oops." Just oops. I just clipped the mic so hard right there. But fucking just he knows he fucked up immediately. He's like, oh. But that, could you imagine? Next time someone interrupts, you just go, oops, in their ear.
Yeah.
Like, oops, your sentence collided with the middle of mine, bitch. So I've been dying to try that. Go look it up, folks. I was going to ask, how have you kept yourself busy and entertained during the whole lockdown?
You know, I started making a list the other day because I want to remember this like in the future.
Yeah.
And so I have a list on my computer called things that kept me sane during COVID-19.
So cute.
So we started with watching every Adam Sandler film.
Oh, so you did the Joe Rogan route.
Did he do that?
He did. He's been posting about him.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw one of his tweets and I showed Allie, like, look, he's doing the same thing we're doing.
Well, because he had posted about Don't Mess with the Zohan, and I think that's an underrated movie.
Yeah.
That's a really funny movie. As far as Adam Sandler's good or bad movies go, that's more in the good side.
So we started this because it was like last year, somebody put out an article where they ranked every Adam Sandler film from best to worst.
Yeah.
And it wasn't controversial. That topic is never controversial, but it was not what you would think it would be. And they argued that the best Adam Sandler movie was Click.
Oh.
And I was like, I would never put that in my top 5 even. But in reading the blurbs about each movie, it was like, there's so many Adam Sandler movies I haven't watched because just seeing the trailer, I was like, that looks terrible.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about how bad it was, starting with Jack and Jill. So we started making our way through them. We got to Jack and Jill. It's hilarious.
Really?
It's so funny. And it's such a, I mean, it's not a brilliant film, but it doesn't need to be, right? It's like,
he's not trying to win Oscars. He's making
making Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
And all of his best friends are in every one of his movies. So it becomes a punchline in itself when you're like, it's the guy. It's
He's
that one
fucking
guy.
back!
Anytime Rob Schneider pops up or
Yeah,
anytime somebody
the
that you
same
recognize.
character, yeah.
And so we've started watching all of them and we've only got like 3 or 4 left. And yeah, the verdict is they're funnier than they get credit for being, and you have to watch them with a grain of salt and go, this is not somebody trying to win an Oscar or be the funniest or best movie ever made. It's a guy having a blast with his friends, and it will make you laugh. Like there's no movie in his canon that won't make you laugh a few times. And so, yeah, they're strongly underrated.
You know what I feel is underrated? I think it's called That's My Boy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That was bizarre. There were a lot of them on the list where it's like, I did not see that.
Yeah, I didn't even know those existed. Yeah. There's a couple Netflix ones that I swam under my radar here.
There was one he did with David Spade. I can't remember the name now.
The Spy one?
Yeah.
That one. I watched
FBI.
that. That wasn't the most terrible thing.
Yeah. I was not, I just didn't have high hopes for a lot of them.
That's
so
fair.
Therefore I couldn't be disappointed. And it's like, actually those were really funny. And there were several that we watched that was like, okay, that's pretty good.
I also can admire the production value in his fucking movies. Cause he's almost like a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's loaded. He can make a high budget movie, not make any of the money back and be okay.
Right.
And then we have this beautiful, averagely funny movie to look at.
Right.
You know, somewhat funny, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really can appreciate some Adam Sandler movies. I really want to watch Don't Mess with the Zohan again.
Yeah.
Because
it's good like for us to have a goal too. It's like, this is going to be boring and we're all going to be locked at home. And so for us to like knock out one film at a time and be like, hey, we're actually getting stuff done, even though it takes no effort.
I didn't even think about
we printed them out too. And we're like checking them, actually scratching them off the list. And so we're down to only the films that we've already seen and Uncut Gems, which we've been putting off.
Oh shit.
Supposedly.
I've never seen that. I'm going to
Pretty good.
rent that tonight or something.
Yeah.
Rent that. gonna go to the video store. Gonna go to Blockbuster.
But there's certain Adam Sandler movies that I've seen countless times that it's like, we don't need to rewatch that, but we're going to be completist and like get through this list. So we've been putting those off towards the end, like The Wedding Singer, which is one of my favorite.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I've had the same reaction from everyone when I say that.
Yeah.
Never seen The Wedding Singer.
Okay.
What's your favorite?
Probably The Wedding Singer.
Okay.
I will say Billy Madison for like just longevity. I've loved Billy Madison since I was a little kid, and I've grown to appreciate how bizarre and absurd it is. There's no movie like Billy Madison. The closest I've seen, we just recently watched Hot Rod with Andy Samberg. You know that one?
Yeah.
Had never seen that movie before and saw it within the last year, and it was like, this is similar in tone to what Billy Madison was doing, which is subverting film structure entirely for the sake of just being bizarre, but not in that like we saw Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
That one,
Masterpiece.
it was like, yeah, that one, it was like, okay, this feels like they're trying to piss people off with what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
But with Billy Madison, it's like, I don't know. I feel like this is just what they thought a movie was supposed to be. And by the next, I think that Happy Gilmore came out the following year. It's more polished. Like they clearly know what they're doing now. But with Billy Madison, it stands the test of time for me as a movie that no matter what era you're watching it in, it's just an absurdly funny movie. But Wedding Singer, I feel like, is my favorite Adam Sandler movie. It has all of the things that an Adam Sandler movie should have, and it does it really well. Like, he's bizarre and goofy, and he does that thing where he gets really angry and like screams in that Adam Sandler way. But it also has like the love story, which doesn't feel as forced as some later films do. It feels like it hit a good balance.
Okay.
But also, I just love the 80s.
Fair enough. Did The Wedding Singer when did that come out?
I think it was 98.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it came. Oh, that's right. He wasn't Adam Sandler till 90s. I'm thinking they came out in the 80s. It just takes place in the 80s. I'm not unaware of what The Wedding Singer is.
It takes place in 1985, I think.
Ugh,
and so it's parodying the 80s with the like color palette and the music. Like the music is ridiculous and the clothing style and the hair, but it does it in a very tasteful way. I don't know. I think it's good.
I would love to watch it sometime because I think an artist's earlier albums are usually better. Typically, movies too. You know,
it's definitely one of his better films. Like, it doesn't feel generic and it doesn't feel
canned.
Yeah,
not contrived.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, there's something about Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore that depress me.
Really?
I don't know what it is. They're both fucking hilarious. You know what? One of the things is Chris Farley's dead.
Right.
That fucking hurts.
Yeah.
So that scene always hurts. There's something because it's so embedded in like my childhood, and like I don't know if there was something that I was going on when I was watching these movies, but both of those movies, man, bum me out. The old lady, Mister, that, oh my God, I have a fucking existential crisis every time she's on screen.
Wow.
And then the fucking the scene in Billy Madison where there's like, was it the musical number?
Oh yeah.
That, oh my God, I want to die. Every time that comes, I go, oh fuck, life is horrible. I don't know why.
Yeah, you got to go to therapy for that. That sounds deep.
I can be as loud as I want down here because my neighbors are assholes. I mean, I don't know if they're assholes, but there's no noise I've made that has not been like trumped by them.
Yeah.
Like, they are noisy motherfuckers. There's just one guy next door. He smokes weed every day, much like everyone else that lives around here. Holla, it's Lompoc. We have the most dispensaries per capita in the world.
Wow.
That's fake. That's bullshit. That's a fucking baloney stat I just made up, but we have a lot. He coughs every single day so badly that I think I'm hearing him die.
How old is he?
I don't know, because he's black.
Okay.
I can't tell. He could be 80 or 40 or 20. It all looks the same to me. Black don't crack. Holla. Okay, he goes every single fucking day. And at first it was like ridiculous, and I would like make fun of him in the garage. We'd both be in the garage. He'd be doing it, and I'd go, I'd be coughing because I'd be smoking weed, and I'd do the same cough, and then everyone would get real quiet over there. I was like, got him. And now, no, it's just every fucking day, like down the whole alley in this apartment complex, like I don't know how there hasn't been like a note left on their front door. Like there's nothing I can do or like leave a note wise that like they wouldn't be like, it's probably the fuckers next door.
Right.
Cause like they're getting the brunt of it. So I don't know. Excuse me. Okay. Well, Adam Sandler movies. That's a fucking gem.
Yep.
Uncut gems. Holla.
We've been doing that. We've got
jokes.
the Instant Pot
The Instant Pot.
that we've been making stuff in.
I have Instant Pot too.
Allie made a cake in it, which is I didn't even know could be done. She's been making like soups.
I don't know what an Instapot is.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm thinking an Instapot is like a nerdier crock pot.
Yeah, essentially.
Damn.
But it's got all these. I guess you can make yogurt in it, which I don't even know how that's done. But it's got a yogurt button.
I thought yogurt was just like neglecting milk.
Yeah, but I think you got to do it in a way that it doesn't ferment. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you.
Yeah,
know.
because if you leave
Bring
milk
me
alone
some-
long
bring-
enough, it's going to get chunky.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. So Allie's been looking up recipes and trying different things with it, and they've all been
She
pretty
does
cool so far.
not seem like the type of person to do that.
Really?
In no way would I ever accuse her of baking.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, she's great at baking. Yeah, she grew up with a mom who does stuff like that. She's very like she grew up watching Martha Stewart living constantly, and
Well, my mom too, which is why she went to jail.
but yeah, she loves to bake. She loves to make stuff, and I don't know. Allie, I think probably the version of Allie that most people are familiar with is sort of like that, like really driven, like working. She's always, when she's working, she goes into work mode. When she's at home, I was just telling somebody this the other day because they were saying they shared one of those memes that's like when you take a picture of your boyfriend and he always looks amazing, and then he takes a picture of you and it's like that horrible angle and stuff. And I replied and I was actually saying, try living with a photographer. Like my girlfriend is a professional photographer. I hate when she takes pictures of me. I don't like the way I look in photos, even when she's taking them. But
Okay.
Allie doesn't like taking photos when she's off duty.
That's
she's
funny.
like she does it as a job, and she loves to do it if she gets really kind of like how I don't want to write a song about your aunt or something. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, you're a songwriter. Could you write a song for my aunt's retirement party? No, I can't. I'm not that guy. There's some people
You're not
who
a
can do
hired
that.
gun.
Right. And yeah, she doesn't like to come home, especially when we go on vacations. She won't bring a camera with her. And I'm like, please bring a camera. I want to remember
fuck
this.
that. Dude, I love her for that. You know what I've been trying to do? It's hard because I have a girlfriend, but I've been trying to not take pictures of things I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
And I had this beautiful day recently. We both took pictures. I almost didn't want to do it, but I also didn't want to ruin the moment. But like, don't take pictures, you'll kill my vibe by being a fuck. But I've just like, if I'm enjoying something, I try to convince myself like, don't take a picture of it.
Right.
You'll always forget it.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like,
I
don't
think
remember this,
since
but I
we
took a
all
picture.
have cell phone cameras now, that kinds of photos we're taking are very disposable. They don't really matter. And so I agree with you when it comes to like Instagram photos or Facebook photos, but when it comes to like printed photos that you're going to put in a shoebox and
Yeah.
look at years later, that's one of the things I really enjoy about my childhood. We have photos of stuff, right? And there's huge gaps where people weren't taking photos that I mourn. It's like there's no photo
I
of me
do
from
too.
the time I was like 7 until I was like 12.
I do too. I was very insecure with my weight growing up, so I refused to let anyone take photos of me.
Yeah.
And I have no idea who I was or what I looked like. And then sometimes one will like sneak past and I'll go, why was I bothered
Yeah.
by who that person is? I love this kid because of who I ended up becoming. Why was I so mad at him through all these years? Photos have a weird, they have weird seams to them.
Yeah.
Like they're no one knows what a photo will mean until time can age it.
Right.
Until it can ferment like that milk in the Instapot into yogurt. It'll mean a lot. I get that. There's a lot of pictures. I guess when you make the criteria of it's going to be a printed photo, it's going to be in a shoebox, it's going to be in a photo album.
Right.
I'm going to go back and look at this. Absolutely take photos.
Right.
I was so afraid of losing what's on my phone at one point that I printed 400 photos, and they're just like vertical, like cell phone pictures and like selfies and dumb shit.
Yeah.
But I was so scared of losing them, and I haven't looked at them since. I'm like, I still have them. They're on my phone. What's the problem?
Right.
But I'm glad I have those, because if something happens on my phone, I won't have any of that.
Yeah.
That sucks. That scares
I have like
me.
hard drives that I keep stuff on, like old photos of us. So I've got folders in a hard drive of our like first year together, our second year together, things we did. She doesn't in the same way. Like her photos are like professional photos that she took, and then like every once in a while we'll take a photo together at a concert or something. But
Cute.
for a while I was trying to document. It's like, this is stuff we want to show our kids someday, right? Let's like look at us when we first started dating, look at how young we were and that sort of thing. I like to document. Like, I think that's my big thing in life, is that I like to document
Proof.
whether it's conversations, whether it's my daily life and all of that. I like to keep a record of things. She's not as concerned with that, and it's probably because she's not as insecure as I am about losing memories. Or she grew up, we've talked about this, she's grown up in the same house her whole life until we moved in together. So her parents still live in the house she came home to when she was a baby. And so I said, I've moved probably 14 or 15 times in my life.
Yeah.
It's a completely different way that we have of looking at the world. My way is things get lost.
They're
and
finite.
then they're missing in your life, where it's like that you posted this thing about the toy the other day, and I was showing you, or I sent you the little professor calculator.
Yeah, that's right.
The reason that I regard that toy so highly is because I played with it for a period of time, and when we moved, it got left behind. So it feels like something that's missing from my life, where it's like I had that thing and then it was gone and I don't have it anymore. You know what I mean?
And you don't have closure. I have so many things in life like that. There's specific toys, there's t-shirts, I have an old tube TV that is no bigger than my laptop in screen size in my closet, just because I grew up watching TV on it. And this is when I first found out that TV continues after you go to sleep. And this is where I found Adult Swim. This is where I would watch Girls Gone Wild when I was 11 years old, and always had there's memes that are so fucking relatable. It's disturbing. And one of them is when you're watching the Girls Gone Wild commercial, but you have a Cartoon Network as the last channel and you click that button. I always would set it to go cartoon boobies and then go boop. I'd test it. I'm like, just in case. And then the Girls Gone Wild commercial would come on and be like, oh my God, yes. But God forbid someone comes in and I have to change it. Never happened, but like that's such a real thing. And I have that TV to this day. It's in my fucking closet. I have the remote in a fucking box of sentimental things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just keeping this. Like, I don't want to get rid of this ever.
Right.
I remember, I can tell you like where the buttons are on that remote, the texture of the remote, why the volume down button is harder to work than the fucking volume up button type of thing. I would hate to miss that. I would hate to lose that. I don't know why. I moved 7 or 8 times growing up. It sucks.
Yeah.
I'm fucking attached to things.
Yeah.
So I'll take pictures of random things too. I thought there was something weird about like when we hang out, like when we're not taking pictures, because you guys are like the only people I'm ever around that we're not like, oh, phone's out, take a picture, selfie, Instagram, doing something, blah, 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 you know, even to some extent, you know, like you'll be on your phone fielding all these agents and networks and shit like that. But like, other than that, like if I get on my phone, I feel like an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only time I am cognizant of my phone usage is when I'm having dinner somewhere with someone. If I'm sitting down to eat, phone is out the window, gone, off, not doing it. And I just do that out of respect for Anthony Bourdain. That's it. Like, I'm just like, that's the appropriate thing to do. Joe Rogan says Anthony Bourdain does this. I found Anthony Bourdain through a comment Rogan made on an episode. Then I found out who Anthony Bourdain was, and then it changed my life. And now I don't fucking have my phone out at dinner.
Yeah.
Or when I'm eating. Just a little. All right, next question, folks. Jesus. That hurt. Why did I even do... I don't know. Why'd you let me talk that long? I feel like I stuck my foot in my mouth. All right. Chris Lambert. Have you watched any good comedy specials lately? And if you say Seinfeld, don't talk about it because I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it came out yesterday or today.
Gosh, I don't think we've watched that much recently. No, I don't think so.
It's so hurtful.
We've taken a little break from that because we're doing other things and
We get it. You're productive.
we're trying. We started Curb Your Enthusiasm from the beginning. Have you watched that?
It's so hard to watch the old episodes for me.
Really?
Just some of it's why is it so I don't know if it's dated. It feels more dated.
Yeah, I think
in a couple years it's going to be perfect. I can watch the first 3 seasons of Seinfeld and go, I don't care if you're dated. I know you're old.
Right.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is just out of like, they have like phones in cars, but they still have like DSL, but dial-up computers. I'm like, oh god, we're not there yet. It's still too gross. There's something a little slow about it. But
one of the things I appreciate about it is he came off of Seinfeld and started this show, and I think intentionally low production value as a result. Like I think he was trying to go as low production as he could, and so it does feel like the cameras that are filming it sometimes are not even that professional.
yeah.
I don't mind that so much about it. But what I love about that show is it's cringe humor, but it puts him in these positions where he's the asshole and he says what he thinks that are all these things that we're all kind of thinking, but we're not allowed to say publicly. Where he's like, why is this the rule? Why do you have to do this? Who says that you have to do this? And I relate very strongly to that. I feel like it's probably not pronounced when I'm in public because I'm very quiet and I keep to myself, but I always feel like a jerk when I'm in a group of people. I feel like I'm not doing socially the things that we're supposed to be doing. I feel like people are judging me. I feel like when I leave, I'm like, are they talking about me now? Are they saying like, oh, he didn't even say bye when he left? And did I do everything the right way? And so to see a guy be put in that position episode after episode where it's like he's in this room full of people and he's messing it up again and again makes me feel more human. It's like, okay, at least we all feel this way. And so we started it from the beginning, and I think we're on season 6 now.
Damn.
So yeah.
So that exact description of like he just says what we're all thinking, and he gets that exact description was, I read that as a 12-year-old and was like, I gotta fucking watch this show. This is amazing. This sounds like the exact show for me, which is proof that I've always been a bit of a jerk my whole life. Just a bit of a fucking I don't know what the right word is for it because asshole is just too versatile. Need something more like defined. But yeah, just damn if I don't relate. So you saying that makes me want to give it more of a chance
It's
than
also,
I've ever given it.
I don't know that you could appreciate it in the same way when you're 12. It's something that as I get older, I relate to more strongly. It's also why I like the show Louie.
It's the best. That's why.
When I watch Louie and he's in a position where he's making a jerk out of himself because he's not following proper protocol, how we're supposed to interact with each other, I'm like, thank you. Do we not all feel this way all the time? I mean, I always feel like the awkward person in a room, but the chances that everybody in the room agrees that I'm the awkward one are probably pretty low. They're probably not even thinking about what I'm doing as much as they're worried about what they're doing. But when I see other people struggle through it and amplify it so much to where it's the entire episode is his life falling apart because he made this one mistake, it feels refreshing to me.
There's nothing better than that. Like someone making the mistake for you, learning for you, saying the thing you wanted to say, and you just get to sit there and go, at least that wasn't me. Jesus Christ. But in your head, you're like, somewhere that was me. That fucks me up. Those shows are perfect like that. And they do it all in such different ways that are so close that you can compare them, but they're totally different experiences. Like the Louie, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Seinfeld, like they're definitely versions of each other in different ways. And at least Seinfeld in some ways and Louie in a plethora of ways appeals to me as a comedian. Because you're talking about talking to other comics, and oh my god, and then they have the interludes with them on stage.
Right.
My favorite parts. That's amazing. I want to know, like, dang, like you wrote material just to put in the TV show as your material that could have gone somewhere like that. I was looking at Seinfeld's specials, and I was like, he has 4 specials. He has 4. He's been doing this 40, 50 years. He has 4 specials. There's Eliza Schlesinger has 5 on Netflix right now, and the last 2 are good. Like, I'm fucking. Although that was a beauty to watch. If you watch like her first special and then to her 5th one, you can see like, oh, comedians get better.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm obviously a nobody and not nearly as funny as anything on her first special, but I love that. I was trying not to shit on her because I like her and I like her comedy and shit.
Yeah.
Felt like I just did her dirty because she's a girl for no reason, but that's not why. Louis, fucking. Do you watch Horace and Pete? Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
Thoughts? Because that show fucked me up.
Yeah, it's dark. It's
It
heavy.
is.
It took me 2 times all the way through before I really appreciated it the way it. Immediately, I got what he was doing. Like, it was I saw him announce it, and I downloaded the first episode immediately, and I watched it and was like, whoa. But I got it. Like, I get what he's doing, but it's going to take some adjusting to because it's not funny for the most part. And it's very strange stylistically. It's like he filmed a play that was happening on a stage, and there's a lot of silence and there's a lot of gaps. And there's a lot of like long shots. I think that it's like episode 3 or something where the woman is talking about seducing her like father-in-law. Do you remember that
that's
one?
like 3 or 4. The entire episode
It's
is
like
a long
20 minutes of a shot on her face.
Which God, I forgive me, I forget her name, but what a performance! This lady fucking has a monologue. 20 minutes of a 30-minute episode, tells this amazing story, completely compelling. You don't know who she's talking to.
Right.
You don't know what it is. A masterpiece of a show. That is a masterpiece of an episode. It ripped my heart in 2 twice.
Yeah.
And and it's hilarious, and there's parts you agree with, and he has Liza Traeger in there, and I hate her guts, but I was still like, wow, like, this show's so good, I can appreciate her character's action.
Yeah.
You know, the point of her character, the function of her character, rather, excuse me. And that was a big deal. And Mark Norman's in there. Stephen Wright is in there. Just all these amazing comedians that are just like shoehorned in there. Kurt Metzger plays an asshole in every episode. Fucking bananas. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And inspiring in that way that I don't make TV shows, but seeing the way he did that makes me want to apply it to what I do and how I create. One being to just be completely independent of a network and just, I'm going to film this show and I'm not going to tell anybody I'm doing it. I'm not going to sign with any network or take money from people. I'm going to fund it myself. I'm going to ask my friends to act in it. I'm going to I think he approached Jessica Lange at like an awards show and was like, hey, he's like whispering in her ear, do you want to be in the show? But you can't tell anybody I'm filming it, and sent people scripts, had them come to his house for script reads. That is my dream. Like, to do that in my own way.
Yeah.
And then to put it out, and it doesn't really matter what people thought of it. I know there were a lot of people who wanted it to be funnier, who were disappointed by it. Who
Watch
cares?
Louis if you wanted it to be funnier.
Right.
You get just as much dark
It's
and
risky,
way more
and that's
funny.
what I appreciate about it. It's a huge risk for somebody in his position to take, and he was willing to take it to grow artistically. It felt like
took so many chances. I've never seen anything like it.
yeah.
I can't compare it to anything.
Yeah. It felt like Cheers without a laugh track and without the jokes.
Yeah.
It's like it's set in a bar and it's almost exclusively in the bar or in his apartment upstairs.
It's a Steinbeck novel.
Yeah.
With in the fucking Cheers bar.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And it's slow paced. And I think he was writing each script weekly.
Wow.
That he didn't write it all ahead of time. He wrote it as each week developed. So there's current jokes they're joking about stuff that was happening in the news that week.
Yeah.
And then it would come out at the end of the week. And some episodes were like 50 minutes long and some episodes were like 25.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter because it wasn't airing on a network. And to put it up on your website and just be like, hey, if you're a fan of mine, pay to download this. And if you're not, don't bother. Or if it's not what you're looking for,
That's the
go
best
somewhere
way
else.
to do it. I
Yeah.
can't believe it makes me so happy to live in a world where I have people to look up to that make these choices and take these chances.
Yeah.
For all of these other people that's going to be normal. It's going to be very, very normal for people to be like, hey, I created this thing completely independently, and if you support it, buy it off my website.
Right.
And people will have whole fucking, and I'm sure they do now, whole fucking livelihoods made that way.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then the fact that, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say, but it's about Horace and Pete. Fuck, I lost it. I forgot what I was going to say. Shit. Anyways. Yeah. Damn it. I really had something, and I've never just lost a load like that.
About people being able to put out stuff on their own. And
Oh, I was just going to say, Horace and Pete is going to be looked back upon with great admiration. Like you and I are talking about now, this is going to be like a legend status. Is going to be like this is going to be like a duck soup type thing. Like back, like, oh, they fucking, someone figured this out.
Yeah.
And no one was giving it credit when it came out.
Right.
It's going to age really well.
Yeah.
I think. You know. He doesn't make himself the point of the show.
Right. Yeah. It's a very ensemble cast. And yeah, casting Alan Alda as the like crotchety uncle. I don't know if you know Alan Alda from like MASH or like what he had done previously.
I mean, he's a lighthearted, calm, like a funny
he's
guy.
Not the person you would cast.
When I wikied him, I was like, oh, he's not this piece of shit.
And I don't know if you watched interviews, but he was originally going to cast Joe Pesci in that.
Yeah,
part.
I was going to bring that up. That was something I thought I had over you. Like, oh, did you know Joe Pesci was going to be in it?
And just flat out turned him down and insulted him. But
really? I didn't know that.
Did you hear him tell the story about going to his house and everything?
I thought I did. I thought I did, and I heard it sitting where you are now on that couch. That's interesting.
Yeah, went to Joe Pesci's house.
Okay.
And Joe Pesci was like, who gave you my phone number? And like, it didn't want anything to do with it. He's like, I'm not doing your TV show. And Louis kept like pushing at him. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. What's wrong with you? But they had like an interesting dynamic. And he said like some off the wall things that he ended up asking, can I use that in the show for the character? And he's like, I don't care what you do with it. So he wrote Joe Pesci's personality into Uncle Pete. Oh, okay. But Joe Pesci refused to do it. He didn't want to be part of it, but he was...
What I heard, it was a much more understanding between them.
Yeah.
Where Joe was like, I'm not going to do this, but I will help you with this type of thing.
Exactly. But he was kind of aggressive about it. He's like, I'm not going to be in this. I have no interest in doing this. I don't know who you are. I've never heard of you before.
Straight up turned him down. That's funny.
But was cool about it at the same time. Like, you do what you want with it. And there's a few monologues that I guess Joe Pesci went on rants to Louis, and he's like, I'm going to write that into the character. And he gave him permission to do it. So I think they were on good terms, but he didn't want anything to do with the show. And there were a couple other parts like that. And yeah, it's really interesting. But I get inspired by listening to the process of that kind of risk taking in art, being like, here's a guy who's known for doing stand-up comedy. That's his big thing. And he's going to try to do this thing that is not that, and he's going to do it in his own way, and he's earned his way there because he worked his way up to that level. Like if you right now or me were to make a TV show like that and put it on our website to download, we wouldn't sell thousands and thousands of downloads of it because people don't know who we are. Yeah. So he had to work his way to that level in order to achieve the luxury of being able to put it out that way.
It's true.
So you kind of have to play the game for a little while. You have to do. He had to put out some HBO specials and do things their way and
write Pootie Tang.
Right. And did you see Lucky Louie?
I've only seen a few episodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but like a basic kind of sitcom formula to work his way up to Louie, which was, here's the budget and it's really super low, but it all goes to you. And we're not going to have notes. We're not going to view each episode. We have no say over guest stars or anything. You just turn in a finished show.
Shot it himself, edited himself. Yeah. That's the beauty of Louis, is how much of it was really just Louis C.K. doing it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a fucking masterpiece. There's, just like Horace and Pete, there's episodes of that break my heart.
Yeah.
And it's long form. So there's a story. It's so weird. Louis is an interesting one, the show itself, FX. But Horace and Pete, I've never watched a show in the way I watched Horace and Pete, where I was almost afraid to watch the next episode because I didn't want to binge watch it and then have it be gone forever.
Yeah.
There's one season, I think maybe 10 episodes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right.
It's a masterpiece of a show. I don't see anyone doing anything like it anytime soon, especially with the state of the world. So if you guys are interested, go on Hulu and watch it right now. It's on fucking Hulu, Horace and Pete's. And I watched it sitting maybe like a foot away from my widescreen TV, just like wide-eyed, like hands in my palms, like fucking just obliterated by this show.
Yeah.
I put my phone down to watch this show. Most people passively watch things, phone in their hand, watching it, looking at things, watching it, and it gets divided. Your attention's divided. You only get, a third of what the show actually is.
Yeah.
I tried to consume and absorb as much of the show as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend everyone else do so. Or don't, so I'm cooler than you and I have it that I'm cooler and I watch cool things and you don't. You can always do that. I like that. Well, all right. You should check out some comedy specials lately is what I'm saying. There's some good ones.
Okay, recommend 5 for me.
Mark Maron's new one.
I did watch that, I think.
Okay.
What's it called?
I don't know.
I think I watched his most recent one.
Oh, it was like End Times Now, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Louis' new special.
Just saw it. Yeah.
That was we talked enough about Louis. Let's keep going. Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and Chris D'Elia
Okay.
all had specials come out within a month of each other, and they all have a part of a joke that if you watch all 3 specials, there's a joke.
Uh-huh.
So you
Is
get
that intentional?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. They have the setup, the meat of it, and the punchline, and you have as a viewer have to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
just watch them in order from release order. So Bert's, Tom's, and then D'Elia's. So
Did you see Bert Kreischer interview Adam Sandler a couple weeks ago?
No, because I've been hearing him talk about it on his fucking podcast every dude. I don't want to watch it. He called Uncut Gems precious gems. And then he didn't say
Happy Madison.
He said Happy Madison instead of Happy Gilmore.
The
Billy
funniest part
Madison.
about it, though, is they're doing like a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so he's like standing in the back of the room with Whitney Cummings. And each time he has a question for Adam, he runs up to the computer screen like a little kid. And he's like, Adam, me and my kids are watching Happy Madison together. It's the funniest movie. And then he runs back to the back of the room again. And he's shirtless the whole time, too.
Of
Like
course
he always
he
is.
is, yeah.
So it was like the giddiness of a little kid and just trampling over this guy's legacy while trying to impress him. And then the next day, Adam Sandler tweeted out, like, I watched Bert Kreischer's special and he's a great guy. Yeah. Like, Adam Sandler is like one of the nicest people in comedy. But it was so painful to watch.
Oh, dude, no. And then he went on. Him and Burr have a podcast called the Bill Burt Podcast,
yeah.
and they share stories about embarrassing themselves. And then Burr has one about Gary Shandling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to hear that.
Yeah. I think it's. I'll let you know which episode it is. But fuck, dude, because if anyone understands things more, if someone can carry themselves so coolly, like these things don't happen, but then immediately admit that those things happen to them, it's Bill Burr.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, they shared this experience. This is how I first heard about it, because I can't sit there and watch people on webcams. It bores me to tears.
Yeah.
I need to leave. I need to move around. I have a hard time sitting still, if you haven't noticed. So yeah, it fucks me up. Can't do that. Didn't watch it. And this is why I don't want to watch that live. I would be screaming. I'd be ripping my hair. I have this disorder where I pluck hair compulsively. I would have been ripping my eyebrows out in chunks. I could not do that. I could not have done that. But yeah, so those 5, without a doubt.
Okay.
I really want to see Larry the Cable Guy's new special, but it came out on Comedy Dynamics, and so you have to like pay for it, and I'm like, I love Larry, but I don't want to pay for it. Like, because I bought Louis because I was like, I may never see this man again. I'm going to buy his special from his website, but I don't know. But I really want to see Larry the Cable Guy's new special because I just really appreciate his style where it's just like, formula works, don't fuck with it. Great, good joke. You know, even my friends are like, anyone that I know that could talk shit about Larry the Cable Guy, not funny. They're not funny
Yeah.
people. I've never had anyone that could be like, I could do that and then do it or do it better. Like they're not funny like that.
Yeah.
Don't kiss my ass, people. You like Larry the Cable Guy? Yeah. Also, the opening to Jeff Dunham specials is his stand-up by himself. It's great. Watch it. You can't do that. Suck it. Becoming a comedian has taught me that, like, not liking comedians because your stupid friends said they were dumb is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, you can just appreciate these people that are doing things you are decades away from even remotely scratching the surface of. So
I got to this place a few years ago in my life where the concept of not liking an artist or any kind of thing feels boring to me. It's like, I don't care that you don't like a thing, and I don't care that you think it makes you superior to not like a thing.
I'm still going through it. Sorry.
Like, no, everybody goes through it. I go through it all the time, but trying to get past that point and force myself to get into things that I've otherwise dismissed. Most recently, Billie Eilish. I never heard Billie Eilish's music. I only heard the types of people who were talking about Billie Eilish and never wanted to have anything to do with it. Then she won Grammys, and I was like, I couldn't stand her, the idea of her. Then I put on her album. It's incredible.
Yeah,
like, I love her music.
Right.
And then I watched interviews with her, and it's like, I like her as a person. She recorded the whole album in her house, in her bedroom with her brother. I love the idea of it. I love the way the album turned out. I love where she's gotten to at such a young age. And I would have missed out on all that if I would have just kept with, okay, screw her for the sake of, I don't know who she is and I don't like the types of people who are talking about her. I did the same thing with Taylor Swift for a long time and found out that I love some of Taylor Swift's music. And there's a lot of music that I've dismissed before I gave it a chance.
Yeah.
That I came around to later and was like, there's no reason to not like a thing. It's just, you're just limiting yourself. And Adam Sandler movies are a great example of that. There's so many Adam Sandler movies that it's like, I can't watch that. It looks ridiculous. It's not the same as old Adam Sandler movies. And it's like, what are you doing with your life that you are just
a snob?
I'm never going to watch those things because I'm better than that. I'm not better than Jack and Jill. It's
absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, you're better than, I've never seen Jack and Jill, but maybe. I think I would rather listen to your podcasts than watch Jack and Jill every day. I like Billie Eilish. I think I had read an old status. It was on the Memories a year ago today, and I posted. I was like, fuck it, I don't care, guys. I like Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what was I going through? I just admitted I liked a pop star on social media. Yuck. But then I remember, I was like, yeah, I totally like this girl. Like, I like the music. There's nothing wrong. This is close enough to sounding like real music and instruments without like sounding so, maybe it's because it was in her fucking bedroom.
Yeah.
Where it had to sound like lo-fi and locally sourced and independent, and it wasn't some overproduced thing. I don't like pop music when it gets to the level of like, this was a giant studio and all of these sounds are canned and contrived and super polished. Like, grosses me out.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like pop music. 10 out of 10 pop stars I'll avoid type of thing.
In your episode with Kylie, you guys were talking about pop music, and you brought up Lady Gaga, and she said she loves Lady Gaga, like, as far as pop music goes. That's actually a good example of somebody that I just, like, her albums bum me out because I know she's capable of doing better than them. I loved Fame. Was it the Fame? Her first album?
Fame, yeah. And then Fame Monster.
I loved that album when it came out. And then, the EP that came out after it. And then was Born This Way after that. I forget which order it happened. And I got that was like one of those, I do this with upcoming movies and albums, is I keep them in a list on my phone of things I have to look forward to. And I obsess over them. I read interviews about them. Born This Way was one that I was like, I am so excited for this album. And when it came out, I was so like deflated.
Wow,
because
really?
I thought it just doesn't. I had seen her play acoustic at that point, and I was like, oh my God, she's a real artist. Like, she's doing this pop thing, but she could do whatever she wanted to do. And then when Born This Way came out, it was like, what is that? Like, compared to what she's capable of, right? Yeah. But it was the album Joanne that, like, I listened to one time all the way through, and I was like, what are you doing?
Oh,
and
really?
So, and so it's something that because I was just talking about this, I stand by what I said. Not liking a thing for the sake of not liking a thing is boring, and it's ridiculous, and it's self-indulgent. And so I know that there will be a time that I come around to it. It's like, I know that I'm going to listen to that album in a couple years and go, what was I doing? This is a great album. But the first time around, I only listened to it one time around. And the first time through, I was like, what am I hearing? And why is this what she's relegated herself to? It was specifically, she has that song called Angel Down. I don't know if you remember that one. It was about like police shootings or something.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, let's see what this is. And it was just exactly what I thought it was going to be. And it kind of, it just felt schmaltzy. You know the word schmaltzy?
Yes, I do.
That's the best word that I can use in this.
I know what that word means.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's like exactly the corn syrup you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, right. And it's like, I feel like you're pinning, because Madonna did the same thing, I feel like, for a while too, where it's like you're doing this like factory generated version of pop music that is not really saying anything that you're trying to say,
but it's
like
branded like that.
You're saying what you're supposed to be saying. And
There you go.
I know that Lady Gaga is an incredible musician and has a lot of potential, but the way that I feel like what she's doing is letting her producers make albums for her and filling in the blanks with her personality, and then they put it out and then move on to the next one. But each time I read about her like interview about an upcoming album, I get sucked into it and I'm so excited for it, and it's never quite what I think it's going to be.
She lost me at art pop.
Yeah, right.
Didn't care for that. That's when I was like, oh, okay, I don't care what Lady Gaga does right now.
But I still think her first album is it's such a masterpiece of pop production, and it's exactly what it should be. And I know that she is capable of doing incredible things. So it's like each time she falls short of that, I'm like, oh, I want you to do the thing that you're capable of doing, and not just what they're telling you can do. But I don't know if it's
I want her to
or
do
not.
the second album or EP, whatever it was, the Fame Monster.
Yeah.
I want that again.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was exactly what I like about her.
Yeah.
Was
But I already hear myself. I hear that thing that I hate when I hear other people do, which is like, why doesn't their new music sound like the old music that I loved? I hate it when people do that with bands like Weezer, where they're like, oh, Weezer never made an album as good as like the Blue Album ever again.
What was the other
And it's
album
like
people?
Pinkerton. Yeah, which I love. I love Pinkerton. I love the Blue Album, but I also love some of the newer stuff. Like, I don't mind when people are doing that if it's really what they want to be doing and should be doing. And so I'm probably like contradicting myself completely, because like I said, I'll come back around to Lady Gaga's later stuff in a few years and I'll go, oh my God, I was an idiot and I was missing out on this great music because I decided to see it through a certain lens.
It's not even that you're contradicting yourself. Some things are not meant to be seen until time ages them. Yeah. Just a little. Just gets them a little.
It's not the right time in my life for that album to click with me.
Well,
like when
that's
I
what
read
mean.
The Great Gatsby when I was in high school and despised that book. And I read it when I was 23 or 24. And I spent that whole year like praising what that book did to me and changed me as a person and all this stuff. I wrote songs about it. It was like, but what really struck me about it is it's the exact same text in the book. It just spoke to me completely differently when I read it on my own and as an adult, as opposed to being forced to read it when I was a child and not getting why I was being forced to do this thing. Right. And so the music can be the same way. Movies can be the same way, where you see something or read it and it doesn't do anything for you, or maybe you hate it, but you come back around to it at the appropriate time and it suddenly works.
First time I heard The Cure, it was disgusting. I was like, yeah, what the hell are these retards doing? And then it turns out that was an old album. It was one of their first albums, and they're this giant band.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was 12 years old, and I was like, this is disgusting. I hate this album. It was the
I think
Boys Don't Cry
the
compilation.
first Cure song I heard was, is it 1,000 Years? It's the opening track on Pornography, I think.
I don't know off the top of my head right now.
Couldn't stand it. Like, hated it so much. And then In Between Days is what brought me on board. Like,
oh my God,
I got obsessed.
Song is perfect.
I was obsessed with The Cure in high school, and I didn't know a single other person who listened to or even knew who The Cure was. And sometimes I would mention them to people, and they didn't get it, or they didn't know who I was talking about. So I didn't tell anybody I listened to The Cure until years later. It's like, that's one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yep.
And yeah. But I like getting to those places independent of other people's influence.
Agreed.
Nobody got me into The Cure. I just loved The Cure.
Agreed.
So it's just something that there was also a band I was obsessed with that I've still never heard anybody talk about called Love Spit Love.
Never
They
heard
put
of
out, I think, 2 albums total, maybe 3. And it was the lead singer of the Psychedelic Furs.
Oh,
great 80s
shit!
band. He put out these 2 like alternative rock albums in the 90s, and they're so good. And I've never met another person who's even heard of this band. And I listened to them in my bedroom all the time, but I didn't tell anybody I listened to them because it wasn't cool to talk about. I hate those things. Like I feel like that was traumatic for me, not in a big way.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was traumatic in a way that as an adult, I've tried to shed that and go, who cares what I'm supposed to be listening to or what it's boring to me when I hear adults talk about.
So much emotional baggage because
Yeah.
I like things that other people didn't like, and I can't relate to people, and people
Yeah.
don't relate to me, and I don't want to relate to you simpletons that just like pop music, high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
There's still ghosts of that.
Yeah.
Inside of me at
And
all
I,
the times.
I hate the mindset where you think that because you like stuff that other people don't like, that makes you superior to them. And I also hate the mindset that I had in high school, which was nobody has heard of this band and that makes me less cool than them. So I won't tell anybody. I'm ashamed to share it, right? I hate both of those mindsets.
I loved when I found bands that people didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I was like, now I can be cool for knowing something you didn't and liking something. And I trust my opinion and I think it's good.
Yeah.
Like I have this moment, people have this thing about like their guilty pleasures. Like, oh, I listened to such cringy music when I was a kid. I always am like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have guilty pleasures. Everything I liked back then, I still fucking like right now.
Yeah.
If I put on those records back then, I will put them on right now and I'll still like them type of thing. Like the only fucking things that, or I'm like, ugh, what was that about? Is like punk rock.
Yeah.
And it's just the typical punk rock where I'm like, ugh, yeah, that didn't hold up in my mind. Still fun, great power chords, great beat, love the fucking energy, total mood. I can still listen to it.
Yeah.
But I don't have guilty pleasures where people are like, I went through my scene phase. I did not. I went through liking good shit period phase. Fuck you. So I have this like this horrible, douchey, pretentious thing that isn't going anywhere because I don't look back and like hate myself for liking that music.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a flaw.
I'm the other way around. Like I have lots of bands that I like that if nobody else likes them, I feel like I just can't share this with anybody. So it's just my own private thing. And that makes me feel like I don't fit in. And so I just don't share it. And like Fugazi.
Yeah.
You know Fugazi?
Yeah, of course.
One of my favorite bands of all time. But I've never met another I think Neil Breton likes Fugazi and we talked about it a bit. But nobody that I like I've played them for Allie and she listens to it and she deals with it, but it's not something she's ever going to put on when she's alone. Like I played it for my mom and I don't think my mom cared for it. And I just didn't talk to my friends about stuff like that. So it was like Fugazi for me is a very personal band that I really enjoy, but I only listen to by myself. And it's not something I would put on in the car when other people were with me. It's one of those bands too, where it feels very insular in that you're not going to find a lot of people who enjoy them, even if they give them a chance. Refused, the band Refused has an album called The Shape of Punk to Come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that album, and everybody I've ever played it for has had the same look on their face while it's
And
on.
it's
Just
this
like,
look.
yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just don't share that stuff with people, but
That's funny. I had such a different experience with Fugazi. Everyone around me loved that band when I was
Really?
growing up.
Wow.
And it was like, you're only cool or respectable if you like Ian MacKay's other stuff. He's not even the vocalist in this band. And I was still like hung up on Minor Threat. And I was at a loss.
yeah.
I could not handle. I was like, I don't like. Every time I listen to Fugazi, I don't like it. It doesn't go anywhere I want it to go. I don't like fucking Waiting Room. I don't like this shit. I don't get it. I thought Fugazi was gonna be my favorite band of all time, and then I listened to it, and I could not get into it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
By no means am I gonna be like, oh, turn Fugazi off. What are we, gay? But like, I absolutely cannot succumb to Fugazi.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Something about it. It feels like I don't know.
I was probably that way with Minor Threat, honestly, because I came into Fugazi first, and then I listened to Minor Threat, and it was like, this isn't something I can get into in the same way, because Fugazi's albums to me felt like art pieces.
Yeah,
felt like they're crafted in the studio.
It's better music without a doubt.
It's more complex at least, but that's complexity is what speaks to me sometimes.
Okay.
And with Minor Threat, it's like, okay, I feel like somebody's about to punch me in the face in a mosh pit, and I hate that energy. Like I saw Anti-Flag.
Yeah, I got in trouble
like
in 4th grade for wearing an anti-flag shirt. I got suspended or like something for wearing an anti-flag shirt.
Seeing them live was one of the worst concert experiences I've
you
ever
went to
had.
Warped Tour.
No, I've never been to Warped Tour.
Good for you. Oh my God. Cheers. Neither.
But I don't like festivals. I'm not a festival person.
Never. Nope. Will
But
not.
saw Anti-Flag. I think I saw White Flag too. And just the mosh pit and the way that the fans were reacting to the music and the way they acted towards each other. It was like, there's a lot of testosterone in here, and it feels like somebody's going to get injured for no good reason. And I'm just trying to watch the band. Like I was trying to step back and just see what the band was doing on stage. I'm just not built for that kind of audience, that sort of crowd thing. I know you have a lot of mosh pit experience, and that's
I refuse.
how we're different.
There's no way I will ever get into a mosh pit again. I have to love the band. I do not.
I saw Blink 182 in like 2002.
Really?
And everybody was moshing to it. It's like, how do you mosh to all the small things? What are you doing?
I don't know. I understand enjoying something so heavily that your body reacts, but I don't understand moshing to everything. I saw the Melvins recently. There's a mosh pit. And I was like, this is metal by default, but like a lot of these songs, there's no mosh rhythm to it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then the last mosh pit I was in was in the same venue. I saw Off. Amazing. It was the best experience for a mosh pit could have ever asked for. And I don't think I'll ever get in one again. And now I'm like, I need to see what the fuck they're doing. I need to see what they're wearing. I need to know what kind of guitar that is. I'm not a musician. I'll never be a musician. I can't play a guitar. All my friends are musicians. None of them wanted me to be a musician too. They said, go over there and watch us play, please. So, okay. I need to like know, do I recognize the song? Do I know the lyrics? Is this song, this is a cover of that song? There's this song called Halo of Flies that the Melvins covered in an album they did with Jello Biafra of Dead Kennedys fame and Jello Biafra fame. And I thought it was their song. I thought it was, Jello and Melvins did Halo of Flies. That's amazing. And then I found out it's an Alice Cooper song. I was like, fuck, I didn't know that. So I was like, I had to go into the fucking show and go, they're going to play Halo next. I saw on their set list because I love set lists and like finding out what order.
Yeah.
I make playlists that match the set lists when I saw the
Me
band.
too. Yeah.
I go look for them because, oh my God. So Melvin's, this was the first like band and like where I saw where I was like, I need to know what the hell's going on here. I need to know why this song sounds different, what that song's referencing. Like it just completely changed my musical like interpretation.
Yeah.
So I fucking love them for that.
Yeah. That's also, I think, just why I don't mesh with the mosh pit sort of thing. When I go to a concert, I'm going to a concert to watch the band and learn from the band and sort of experience what's going on stage and how they bring these songs to life. And anything that's going on separate from that is like a distraction from it for me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go to concerts to have fun, which I understand. I'm just not that type of person. It's the same.
They also buy Lady Gaga's Joanne album.
Yeah. Or they watch like people who watch like Transformers movies. I know Transformers is like a huge franchise. I haven't seen one, and I don't really have an interest in one, and I don't think that makes me better. It's just that those movies, they feel like an escape from reality, and what I enjoy in a movie is like a hard dose of reality.
It. Yeah.
I like very realistic movies that are kind of dry and boring sometimes, that speak to some profound truth, and that's what resonates with me. And when I watch any sort of heavily CGI'd action film, then the production value's there. It's great. And it's like, yeah, but I feel like I'm supposed to be watching this for fun. And I don't watch movies for fun usually, unless it's an Adam Sandler comedy where it's like, feel like we're just watching this to laugh and be silly.
It's really interesting when you're sitting there with the big production, big budget movie, and you're still like, I don't know if this mise en scène is really what I was, when you're still like analyzing it, you're like, where's the continuity errors? Like I still like will dissect movies, but movies like that, they're usually big enough where it's just like, it turns that switch off. It like takes a minute, but then eventually it like sneaks into my brain and then just switches the pretentious switch off on me. That's what I call it. I don't think you're pretentious if you like these things. I just think that there's no way I'm such a fucking like normal like piece of white trash. As soon as I start like analyzing thing or being intellectual, I know people are be like, oh, Mr. fucking interesting now. I need to like, change people's. Yeah.
And so many people, I feel like, talk about this kind of stuff, like when Tiger King became popular like a month ago, and at first there was a huge wave of people being like, Tiger King, you got to see Tiger King, and all the Carol Baskin memes and all the things people were sharing. And then very quickly there became this backlash where now it's really cool to post and be like, I've never seen Tiger King.
Gross.
Why is that cool? Why is that interesting? Why is either one necessary?
I've also never watched Game of Thrones, but I'm not cool for it.
Yeah, I'm not cool for it. Never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, but also never posted a status that says I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, and that makes me cooler than you.
Just said this on Instagram last night. I was saying, I was yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day. And I had asked a question on Instagram. I was like, "What's your favorite Star Wars movie?" And someone's like, "Oops, I hate Star Wars." Just being, whatever. And I said, I was like, you don't get extra points for not watching. So you're not cool because you didn't enjoy the thing other people enjoyed. Right. Shut up. I was just being a fucker, but. And they weren't being, intentionally hurtful or hateful. I'm just saying. And you don't get fucking cool points. The thing is, riding the wave is the cool thing. Mm-hmm. You're like, I was there when Star Wars hit the fan, I was there when Tiger King premiered and I watched it. The Tiger King wave, I watched that with Kylie. She was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to watch this. This is silly. Like she's like, I'm seeing memes about this. And this was like the first day of memes where I was like, oh, what's this thing? I don't know what this is about. And then we watched a trailer for it. And she was like, oh my God, I'm watching this. We're watching this. So we watched the whole fucking thing in like one sitting.
And the fact that everybody was trapped at home and it was something to watch and you saw other people talking about it, it's like, I get not wanting to follow the trends and all that stuff, but there is something to be said for that shared human experience.
Community.
Where it's like we're all experiencing the same thing at the same time, and you don't have to love it and you don't have to talk about it. You just watch it and know that other people are watching it too. Seriously. And probably thinking the same things that you're thinking. But there's always those things with huge trends and things that people are talking to death, and then this backlash of people who think they're cool for not partaking in that thing. And it's like, it doesn't make you cool either way. How does that reflect on you as a person, except that I didn't do what everybody else was doing? And it's like, all right, you probably would have enjoyed it quite a bit if you had. I've seen people post and be like, I've never watched Tiger King and I don't want to. Okay, well, if you did, you'd probably get all the jokes and you'd probably understand what everybody's talking about, but why be a part of the crowd, right?
Yeah.
Like, great, keep yourself separate, but it doesn't make you better.
No. It sucks because there's validity in both stances of like, I don't want to be sucked into this drivel. And then there's also validity of like, I get all the jokes. I have community. I can relate to these people.
Right.
We all stand for something. And there's strength in numbers and that's beautiful. And there's like a really earnest thing to be said about people having a shared experience.
Right.
People, who go through horrible things like the days after Katrina and, days after 9/11 and what we're going through now. Yeah. We're all going to look back so fondly, believe it or not, in the community and strength. Dude, we're so disconnected. I don't go out and see anyone when it's not locked down. Before this, I wasn't going out and seeing anyone and like having a shared experience. I was going out and I was like, oh my fucking God, if only there was some sort of like thing to get all you people off the fucking road, out of these aisles. Maybe some of you could die. We don't need the old ones. And then it happened.
Yeah.
And now we have it. And now I'm like, oh, fucking, I love you guys. Don't go anywhere, please. And now we have this shared experience. And I'm like, gosh, I kind of miss people a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I fucking love getting everywhere early. And when you go down an aisle in the grocery store, someone gets the fuck out of the way. But still.
One of the things, I don't watch sports, which again, it's even saying that, I hear that voice of people like, I don't watch sports, and the people who do are idiots.
Sports,
I don't watch sports. I grew up watching football. My family loves watching football. We always watched it. I haven't kept up with it. I don't keep up with any sports, but every year I always watch the Super Bowl with my mom.
Absolutely.
And part of what I love about Super Bowl Sunday is that everybody in the country knows it's Super Bowl Sunday. You go into a grocery store and everybody has that Super Bowl Sunday energy. You're like making eye contact with people. You've got your team, and it's like, I just enjoy the shared human experience of we're all going through this. I also like rainy days for the same reason. When you run into people on a rainy day, it's like, hey, we're all going through this weird thing at the same time, and it's like kind of unusual.
Oh, you
and
got your shoes wet. I almost got my shoes wet around the corner.
Yeah.
Damn.
Anything that we can bond over and be like, hey, we're all going through this. It sucks. And the same with this lockdown. It's like, this is crazy, and we're all wearing masks, and we're all talking to each other on video apps and stuff. It's weird, but you're right. It's like 9/11. In 10 years, we're going to look back at this with some nostalgia.
Yeah.
Even though it was a tragedy, you're going to look back and go, yeah, but we were so close. We were all connected. Yeah. And even though we weren't seeing each other, we were trying harder because we had a reason to. In the same way that after 9/11, everybody sort of came together for a while, and it felt like people were there for each other. People were taking it easier on each other.
Yeah.
They weren't screaming at each other in traffic the same way. There's something to that.
I remember after 9/11, they played American patriotic songs in our classroom just as like part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
And we like had to learn them. And there's no one doing that today. It's completely different. But that because everyone is so connected, and because everyone is so like, America, right? Fuck yeah. They took our towers out. Fuck them. Check out this song. I love that. I freaking, oh man, you summed it up very nicely. I can't, the nostalgia part really hit it on the head for me. Cause it's like, we're going to be so fucking stoked.
Yeah.
To look back and be like, oh yeah, that was amazing when we were connected and we agreed with each other, even though the fucking shared experience thing is such a beautiful thing. And I had no idea how prevalent it was until I had all these like situations pointed out. That's why I like Fridays. They're like a microdose of these situations. When it's Friday afternoon, everyone knows it's Friday afternoon. The traffic's feeling, like, it's a little quicker. You're like, oh shit. Everyone's at the bank cashing their checks. There's like a couple people are like, fuck that, we're getting pizza. So like Domino's is a little busier than usual. And then there's like, just like, hey, there's like, is there like cologne? Like, oh, my neighbors aren't cooking. They're going out for the night. What's this about? There's like a fucking awesome Friday feeling. Like I just got my paycheck and I'm going to go get laid maybe. And I'm going to go see that band I like. And maybe there's going to be a comedian I'll go see. And I'm like, well, this is fun. And then maybe and then there's TV shows to watch. And then even if I'm staying inside, there's fucking Friday night, Or like maybe everyone's going to the football game, and then everyone's be like, "Oh man, we're gonna wake up tomorrow. It's gonna be Saturday. We're gonna go to Billy's baseball game. We're gonna watch that. It's gonna be great. And we're gonna have a fucking barbecue on Sunday." Like there's a weekend feeling. Everyone has this shared experience. And as a kid, I was like, "Ew, gross. I don't want to be doing the thing where like your fucking gross families are together and we're doing the thing, and now I can't go watch." Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Family Guy or some dumb shit. And now I'm like, I really wish that all my families and their friends were all kids again. We were all together and it was Friday and we're going to the baseball game. We're going to have a cookout and a barbecue. And now we're not. And that's the shared experience. And you have all these little examples of it. And I took it all for granted for so fucking long. And I'm sitting this self-aware in the middle of lockdown, in the middle of quarantine, like maybe this won't end. Maybe this will be horrible. But for right now, I really like a lot of things about this, and I can't wait to see how they age, because this album is going to be really fucking cool in 10 years when I look back and go, damn, I was an idiot for not appreciating it.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of adulthood for me so far has been trying to correct things that I took for granted when I was younger. Like realizing there's things I missed out on because I took them for granted. Like my family being together, like you're talking about. When I was growing up, my grandparents lived a mile away from us, and all of my mom's sisters and their husbands and their kids were all in the same town. And so every holiday we were at my grandma's house. We were having a barbecue. Everybody was there. Now half of them have died. The other half moved away. And there's only like 4 of us left here. And we don't get together for anything. And there's a part of me that's like, I really wish I would have appreciated it at the time that it was happening and not just taken it for granted.
Yeah.
There's I didn't watch the last few seasons of The Office yet. I'm putting them off. But there's a quote from one of the last episodes where Andy Bernard says, "I wish you could know you were in the good old days while you were still in them."
Yeah.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
It's so poignant. It's the only thing that character ever said that's worth repeating. Fuck, dude. That's such a good one, too. All right, I have a couple more questions for you.
Okay. I made a list of my favorite movies, too, if you want to.
I do. Actually, yeah.
Squeeze that
let's,
in.
Let's pause for a second and regroup. Okay, so give me this list. Tell me your favorite movies. How many are on your list? What's your idea of a list?
I tried to do a top 10, and top 10 was hard.
It's impossible.
Gosh, I did 13. It doesn't even make sense.
13 works.
What do you want me to do? Just go through them and read them, or you want to talk about them?
We could talk about them. We can stop and talk about them. If you got some. What's your number 13?
Okay.
Or what is it, in ascending or descending, or does it matter?
6, 9, 12. I got 15 here.
You have 15?
Yeah.
Are they in like any
They're in
order?
descending order, yeah. I did the best I could with the caveat that it probably changes constantly.
It does change
every
constantly.
day it's going to be different.
If any self-respecting movie fan or film buff, whatever you want to call them, listens, they know that your top anything
and these are
changes.
top in that they spoke to me in a way or impacted my life in some way, or there's something that I go back to repeatedly.
Yeah, they're not your top fight contenders.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, this
And I
movie's...
would never argue them with anybody else. It's like, these are movies that are
that's beautiful.
uniquely special to me that probably won't mean the same for other people.
Well, give me ones you want to talk about.
Okay.
And then we can list the things that you're not necessarily keen on talking about, but you just wanted to mention. Because if I agree,
we'll just go through them in order. And if you want to,
there we go. Let's just do that. Why are we
quiz me on why or challenge my taste?
No,
you will.
Oh shit. Okay.
We can do it that way.
Let's do it.
So this will be easy. Number 15 is Billy Madison. We already talked about that.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah. Billy Madison is just, I think I kind of covered it before, but it's a movie that I watched when I was super young that no matter how many times I see it, it's comforting, it's familiar, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people, you either love that movie or you hate that movie. Allie saw it when she was young, and her parents hated it because they thought it was just going to be a regular comedy. And it's not. It's a bizarre movie. So she didn't watch it for years, and then I made her rewatch it, and then we've watched it many times together, and it grows on you. But it's also...
I'll have to rewatch it soon.
Yeah. Have you seen it a lot?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's incredibly quotable. It's one of those movies where there's so many scenes.
There's still memes with the images being used for Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Like it's coming up still. Right. Like as much, especially like current events and stuff I've seen as much as today, a Billy Madison meme.
Yeah. Okay. And then in a completely different direction, my number 14 was American Movie.
What's that?
So it's a documentary. It's a real life documentary about this. This is why I love it so much. It shouldn't be a documentary. It doesn't make any sense. There's no real reason for it to exist. But it's a documentary about this filmmaker in Wisconsin who's trying to make a horror film on no budget. And it's awful. Like, it's an awful production.
I tried watching this. I did not finish it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So poignant to me. It's like one of those slice of life things where you're like, what am I watching? And like, this is how these people live.
It
and
gave
this
me
is
anxiety. I turned it off.
Yeah. It's something that probably if I watched younger, I would have hated it.
That's when I watched it.
I watched it at the right time. I watched it at a time that for whatever reason, it spoke to me and it made me feel normal and made me feel like, oh, we're all kind of winging it a little bit. And sometimes our life is a total wreck and it's still okay.
When did it come out? 2008?
Oh no, I think it was like 99. Yeah, it was. I think it was filmed in the late 90s and put out in 98 or 99. And it's these two guys. They're both from Wisconsin. They're both like very lower class trailer park kind of people, and they're best friends, and they've both got these bizarre personalities. And yeah, it's just something that for whatever reason, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I think that's one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. And then I watched it many times. And then weirdly enough, I got to interview the guy, like the main guy in it, for this website. And I reached out to him and asked, can I interview you? And he said yes. So we talked on the phone, and actually he was not too keen on talking about the movie. So we had to talk about other things. And strangely enough, we sort of bonded over, like, he just wanted to talk to me about like my music. And he's like, he's this really strong Wisconsin accent. And he's like, how's the weather out there, Chris? Is it real good out there today? And we talked about normal stuff going on in our lives. So then once I was done with the interview, he kind of stayed in touch with me. So it's like this guy from one of my favorite movies that we just, we bonded
That's
over.
cool. I had a short moment of correspondence with Doug Jones, the character actor.
Yeah.
The guy who's in what's that? Pan's Labyrinth. He plays the guy with the hands and the eyeballs, and then he plays the fish in Shape of Water, things like that. And he knows me and Kylie by name.
Really?
I'd be like, "Hey, Dallas, Kylie, how you doing?" And just we'd Snapchat each other sometimes. I was just a fan. He had a Snapchat on social media. I added him. He would watch my story, would reply to it. I'd watch his reply to it, and he just, really funny, like small, like the celebrities that slip through the cracks. Is fun. I love that when they're like they're normal enough that they can talk to other people and it not be weird.
Yeah. In my experience, anytime I've gotten to know or had any extended period of time with a celebrity, they're always so much more normal than you expect them to be. And they're looking for normalcy as well. They don't want to talk to people who are going to talk to them about being a celebrity or other celebrities. They kind of just want to, forget that part of themselves.
I remembered an instant when me and Kylie were driving back from Tennessee. We stopped at this giant gas station in like Arizona or something, and we saw this like hilarious t-shirt that's like, I'm a Bible reading, gun toting, Jesus loving, just like complete hysterical cringe shirt. And I had posted a fucking picture of it, and I remember that was one of the things he responded to, like, oh my God, good grief, what is that? Horrible shirt. And I was like, that's right? That's why I took a picture of it. He understands. Doug knows. All right, next movie.
These are softball so far. These are pretty basic movies. Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, absolutely. Dumb
and Dumber is a good example to me of a movie that hit at the right time, and it was made for nobody. It wasn't, I don't think they were aiming to be like the biggest film. That can never be repeated.
Never.
They've tried to make sequels to it. They try to make a prequel to it.
Horrible.
It won't work again. And one of the pet peeves that I have about people is that anytime they hear a sequel or a new part of something that's beloved is coming out, they like lose their minds over it and they hate it when it comes out. And it's like, haven't you learned from this yet? You can't repeat these things sometimes. It just has to hit the right way and the right time. And Dumb and Dumber is one that when you rewatch the original movie, it's like, this had such a time and a place and a feel to it that
like
the sequels
Hangover.
left out. Yeah, that's another good example.
I don't like comedy movies.
Yeah, I'm not a huge comedy movie.
Like my top 10 favorite movies, I don't think there might even be like a single comedy on there.
Yeah.
I don't care for comedies. I don't think they're funny most of the time, or the humor is not what I'm looking for. But Dumb and Dumber is one of the few, and The Hangover as well, is like, oh, this is a comedy and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Period. I love it. It's great. So that one is high up there on my list of favorites. I love that movie. That's a perfect one. And there's a Nick Cave song in it. So that's great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I didn't know you were into Nick Cave.
He's my favorite.
Kylie brought it up on your episode, and we'll have to talk about that sometime.
I was literally crying reading some Nick Cave. He has a correspondence with his fans called the Red Hand Files. You send in questions, and every other week or so, he'll answer a few of them in these very well-written, long answers. And he emails them to everyone subscribing to the list. And he lost his son in 2016, 2017. Yeah. And so often did these questions come from people who have also lost their children and ask him how he's dealt with it.
Yeah.
And like he's had about almost 100 of these sent out over the past couple of years, and I cry from reading them constantly. Mm-hmm. It is so well written, and it's so painful, and it's so eye-opening. And before you got here, I was reading one of them and I was fucking crying. That's when I said earlier, I was like, I already cried enough for the month. I'm all cried out. Uh-huh. It was about that. It was about these people who lost their kids and they're trying to, or lost children, and he was answering them. And it was fucking so poignant and powerful and well written and like really heartbreaking.
Yeah. And
he is my favorite. I tried doing a whole podcast about why I like Nick Cave, because right now they have a whole 24/7 live streaming of all of their content, all the Nick Cave content from his first bands to his current bands. Excuse me, I'm gonna cry right now. I'm getting all fucking on YouTube, and I was like watching it, and I was just absolutely my favorite artist. Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary that came out a few years ago?
I own it. Yeah.
I have. Maybe I can borrow it from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been looking for a way to watch it. I read about it and I was like, I need to see this. But I read an interview with him in GQ or something.
That's
where
the
they
one.
Followed him to his office and where he writes songs every day, and was like,
I just reread that this week.
Yeah, that's another what we're talking about earlier. An artist who I don't want to make the style of music he makes. I'm not in the same wheelhouse that he is, but just reading about his process makes me want to try harder to make good art.
I like that interview because of them talking about music. Them talking about like, doesn't even know what this is. Oh, and then he doesn't write on computers anymore or like lyrics or anything, because he feels like he could just be in a bad mood and then delete it. And he'd lose all this genius work or potentially like great songs and stuff. Yeah. So now he doesn't write on like a computer, and he still dyes his hair black.
Does he?
Yeah, he's goth till the fucking cows come home. Still dyes his hair black. I love that. Okay. Next movie.
Where we at? Oh, okay. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
I've never seen that. I know nothing about it. You could say whatever you want or spoil it or not. I think I should just give it a chance one of these days.
Yeah.
All right.
You recommend it?
Okay. Next one.
Orange County.
I've seen that.
Okay.
I saw that when I was a kid though, so I can't appreciate it yet. Don't spoil anything because I need to rewatch it. That's with Jack Black.
Yeah,
and then,
I saw it as a Jack Black movie the first time, and it's not a Jack Black movie. It's a Colin Hanks movie. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it speaks to me very personally because what he's going through feels very relatable to me. And I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of themes in that movie that are like, oh my God, it makes me want to cry thinking about it because it speaks so profoundly to this commonality that we all share, or that some people share.
It's on streaming something right now.
Is it?
Yeah. Because I just saw this recently.
But it's not, to me, it's not a hilarious movie. It's not like a movie that you're going to die laughing at the whole time. There are moments that will make you laugh, but to me, it's just a profoundly, it speaks to something in me. That kind of movie.
Good. I can appreciate that. I'm taking that with reverence because I've never heard anyone speak about this movie. And I used to get Orange County mixed up with Saving Silverman and Stealing Harvard.
Okay.
I used to mix all three of those movies up when I was a kid.
They all have similar scenes in them. I know what you're talking about.
And Jack Black's in two of them.
Yeah. Goodfellas.
Yep.
Kind of an easy one.
Top 10.
I didn't see until 6 or 7 years ago. I
owned it.
I didn't see when I was young.
It's been in our collection on VHS my whole life, and I didn't watch it till I was 14. Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Perfect time to watch it.
Yeah.
14, watching Goodfellas.
Yeah.
To this day, I can't. If Goodfellas is like on TV and I'm somewhere where I can't stream things and I'm just like the TV's on, I'm like, we're definitely watching Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not put on Goodfellas? I love Goodfellas. I can fall asleep to that movie. I can watch that movie. I got a little too high recently and watched it, and I thought the death scenes were really going to upset me. And I was like, oh no, this movie's good even when I'm fucking stoned out of my mind. This is great. This is awesome. So yeah, Goodfellas, perfect movie to me. I love that they end the movie with Sid Vicious's cover of My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, that's the version of it. That's the first version of it that I had ever heard was a Sid Vicious one. And then I found out about Frank Sinatra. Just to let you guys know I'm cooler than you. So I was like, holy shit, this Scorsese guy is pretty fucking cool.
It's also just it's one of those films that I appreciate from a filmmaking standpoint. So many of the choices that were made and the shots and the way they were filmed and stuff.
What? I would love to hear that.
So the one that we talk, because Allie's a huge film nerd like I am too, where we talk about this stuff. The tracking shot where they're going into the club, like the Copacabana or whatever, it's an uncut shot where they follow them the entire way through the room, and you see them like saying hello to people. It follows them.
I thought of when you were talking.
Yeah,
that's
things like that.
You cannot forget that shot.
There's a lot of those in Scorsese movies, like in Casino. There's that amazing desert shot where the cars are driving out to the desert and the tracking, like
I've only seen it once.
shots.
I can't speak to it because I saw it when I was much younger, and I was before I was in any film classes, so I really didn't know what I was seeing.
Yeah.
But I still watch Goodfellas to this day, but I haven't seen Casino in over 10 years.
Yeah.
When he had his brother killed in front of him, I was like, this movie's a little harsher than Goodfellas. That part really upset me. I don't know why, but it was that I think that was the first time I had watched a movie and felt so involved where I was like, I couldn't, like, to what was happening to these characters, like, was really upsetting me. And I'm not even invested in these characters, but like, if someone killed my brother in front of me and the way they showed it, same thing happened in Scarface too.
I don't think I've seen Scarface all the way through.
Okay.
It's one of those movies that people insisted upon so much that I was like, when I see this, it better change my life.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't interested in it when I watched it, but it's something I need to give a chance. I've also never seen any of the Godfathers, and I know there's going to be like it's got to be a week of my life where I just sit down and watch them all the way through.
I need to watch them again. I wasn't like terribly stoked. Like I watched all three of them, and I was like, that was cool. I guess to me, I thought they were overrated. Yeah, and that was me going into film class. I was like, I don't really know anything about this yet. Again, something Casino and Godfather movies I need to watch again. Yeah, because I'm watching The Sopranos right now, and there's something about Godfather 2 specifically. It's like the Empire Strikes Back of the Godfather movies. That The Sopranos reminds me of. And there's something I love about The Sopranos, and there's this connection in there. Just got to watch them. I highly recommend you watching them, taking that week, especially now that you got the time. Yeah. next one. Yeah.
Stand By Me.
It's top 10 for me. Yeah. Absolutely. Untouchable.
Yeah. Gets better with age too. The more I watch it, the more I like it.
That's how I know. Watching that movie is how I know if I'm going through depression or not.
Really?
Depending on how badly I want to kill myself when the movie's over. Yeah, Stand By Me is hands down one of my favorite films of all time. Top 10, top 5, whatever. I wrote Stand By Me. Whoops. I was writing them down because I was trying to like make my list while you're making yours.
Chasing Amy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've only seen that movie once or twice.
Yeah.
I actually just watched it recently with my mom.
Oh,
That's
really?
funny. Yeah.
I watched it so much in high school. It was like, for whatever reason, I just really connected to that movie in high school and watched it over and over again. And another movie that as I got older and rewatched it, it kind of spoke to me in different ways than it had originally. And it was one that Allie had never seen that I got to introduce her to, that she then really liked, because I was like, the whole time we were watching it was like this scene and then this, and you know. So it's a movie that we both enjoy now, I think.
Kevin Smith has this really good film. It's a horror movie called Red State.
Heard of it, never seen it.
The first time I watched that, it was the most terrified a movie made me while watching it up until that point in my life. It was like, I was like, whew. You know when you watch a movie in a perfect setting That's when I watched this movie.
Yeah.
I was like in my bedroom alone. It was dark. There's no phone distracting me. I was like 16. Damn. Great movie. I really enjoyed that movie.
Did you see Tusk?
I started watching it. I didn't finish it.
I didn't see it.
I liked everything I saw.
Do you know how that originated with the podcast episode?
No, because I don't listen to his podcast as much.
I didn't either, but I read about it and then I went back and listened to it. But he has a podcast, a weekly podcast that he does with Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
And I think it was him, or it might have been his other, I forget what his name is, the Smodcast.
Yeah.
Where they just started launching in this idea about, we're going to make a movie about this. And they made up the entire plot of the film in the podcast episode and then filmed it.
That's amazing.
And I love that idea, but reading about the movie made me kind of sick. It was just like, it's such an intense plot and I have a real... I
haven't finished it, so don't spoil it.
No, I don't know what happens either, but
Okay.
we've talked about your squeamishness with blood.
Yeah.
And how I don't have that. I have a thing about body modification that really sickens me.
You can't watch Cronenberg movies.
I haven't seen any now.
Okay.
Yeah. But something about like
Body
somebody
horror?
transforming.
Oh.
I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, I guess
American
body
Werewolf?
modification is the wrong
London?
word. Like body transformation. I don't know. Grosses me out. It just makes me like physically ill.
That was my mom's monster truck.
No.
It might be.
Sounds like it's out.
Oh, okay, never mind. I haven't. I want to watch Tusk now. That's what that makes me want to do, is finish Tusk to find out, because everything I watched I was enjoying, and I love Justin Long.
Yeah.
Never seen anything I didn't like with him in it.
Jeepers Creepers was like my number one high school film for whatever reason.
That's such a fucking, the year it came out, like high school, 2002, 2003 era.
Yeah.
Of like, that's one of the most of itself era movies to me.
When I was in film class in high school, every single movie I tried to write was road horror genre, based on Jeepers Creepers and Joyride.
I was going to say Joyride.
I think they came out
Rusty
the
Nail.
same year or around the same time.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, any film that takes place on the road in a car where they're like trapped in the car and trying to escape, and it's just a very dry, basic plot, really, really spoke to me in high school. And that's the kind of movie I wanted to make. Just thought the coolest film plot is people trapped in a car and trying to escape from something the whole movie.
I think a lot of early filmmakers make movies about containments like that.
Yeah.
Because so often I think they're writing them from contained points of their lives. Like, I'm stuck in this apartment. I'm stuck in this fucking studio apartment. I'm stuck here. I lived in my friend's van. I have to write this thing. And they just kind of wrote from those experiences. And that's what makes those like first ones so fucking banger.
Yeah. I think Spielberg's first movie was Duel. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's again like a guy trapped in a car and a truck driver chasing him the whole movie. And it's very basic, but those are the kind of movies I really liked or wanted to emulate in high school. I wrote like several scripts about, I don't even remember what it was about, but it was a horror film where people are on a road trip and they end up like in these cornfields and being chased through cornfields. And for me, that was like the ultimate scary place, is like being in a cornfield where you can't see anything, but you know someone's chasing you.
Yeah.
And I never actually completed any of those, but that was what I wanted to do.
Have you watched In the Tall Grass?
No.
Don't.
Is it a good one? No. Okay.
Sucks.
Then I won't.
Such a disappointment. It was so good at first.
But there was an era there where I was really into those modern horror films, and then the horror train lost me at some point around like House of Wax. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Or Hostel. Like around that era, for whatever reason, I just got off the horror train, and it wasn't until...
It wasn't like the same kind of horror anymore.
Yeah.
Those are so different. Those are so like popcorn exploitation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's still good horror films that were made during that era, but it wasn't until
Hostel's
like...
great. I love Hostel. But it's not a horror movie. It's a torture movie. It's different. It's not the same thing.
All the
to me.
Saw movies, I think, kind of drove
They
that.
called it torture porn.
Yeah.
Which I love. The first and second Saw, amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hostel 1 and 2 is good for what they are.
Yeah.
I really liked both of them. but I don't, the sequel's just too indulgent. It's not horror movies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care for that. I think horror really had to beef itself up and get better and like quality wise.
Yeah.
And we've had so many good horror movies the past decade.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. There's never been a better decade in horror. 70s, 80s, fuck off. Like 2010s has been untouchable. Most of my favorite horror movies have now come from this last decade or two. It's great. What's the next one?
I like this game where I name a film and then we talk about another film for like 20 minutes. What was I said? Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
So we got to 2010s horror movies. The Client.
Oh, with Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I've seen
love
it.
Tommy Lee Jones in pretty much anything.
Movie terrified me as a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how. Yeah.
And now it's good. I don't mind it.
So now that I think about it, I actually have a good memory attached to this one, which is part of why I think I like it so much. So my dad, when I was growing up, worked at an oil refinery, like my whole life. And he worked in the control room. So his job was to just watch controls and make sure that like no tanks boiled over. And then he'd like take walks around the perimeter and make sure everything was good and then go back. So his job involved a lot of just sitting and making sure everything was being run correctly. So what they would do is his coworkers would bring in movies and they would just watch movies during downtime. And so my dad was watching like 2 or 3 movies a night for a long time. And he had this coworker who would go to Blockbuster and get the new releases, take them home, dub a copy on his own tape and then bring it back. And then he would bring in boxes of VHS tapes of any new movie you wanted to see. So the first time my dad saw The Client, he watched it by himself at work and then picked us up from my mom's house at like 7 o'clock in the morning, took us out to breakfast and told us the entire plot, like as if we were watching the movie, and then went to Blockbuster, rented it and put it on so we could watch it ourselves. Oh. And so my entire experience of that was my dad is so excited about this movie and it makes me want to watch it. And then we watched it and loved it. And then we watched it repeatedly.
Yeah.
And so I think that I have a fondness connected to that movie that's more about the fact that my dad was so excited to share it with us. Like he didn't just watch it on his own and then go home and go about his life. He was like, I need my kids to see this right now.
That's great.
Yeah. I think that's probably why I like it so much. But then it's another movie that Allie had never seen that I got to introduce her to. And now she likes it just as much as I do. So she'll usually choose to put it on if we're picking a movie.
What a trip, man. Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones is in The Fugitive. Tommy Lee Jones in... There's a movie called Double Jeopardy that he's in.
I have it right there.
It's another one. I for whatever reason loved that movie and watched it.
I liked that movie when I was a kid. Yeah.
Let's see what was next. The Truman Show.
Dude, I don't like that movie.
Yeah.
It's like exactly what I'm paranoid about type of thing, or it's like it's exactly what I'm terrified of. There's a moment when I couldn't do futuristic movies or post-apocalyptic movies or like meta movies like that.
Yeah.
Really depressed me. Did not like them. I didn't like it when I saw it. I should give it a rewatch now to see how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But why did you like it?
I don't know. I think maybe another example of something that you watch that makes you feel like, hey, I felt that way. And then you see it come to life on the screen and you're like, hey, that's
very validating.
Yeah, something that I can strongly relate to.
That's why Tarantino movies are good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Tarantino movie with a bad ending.
Uh-huh.
They always end. All of his movies, yeah. Mm-hmm. Best endings to movies, period. The most satisfying, I mean. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the best way to end movies, but always the most satisfying.
Do you remember the ending of The Truman Show?
No.
So that's another, just...
Sorry. Don't pay attention to me.
Okay.
I thought I heard something. I do that all the time.
I do this to Allie all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a male-female thing. Maybe it's not. But where I can't focus on anything if I feel like our life is possibly in danger. And I feel like she ignores every sound.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I'm like, did you hear that fucking twig snap? It's a killer, bitch. We gotta kill him first.
Because we live at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I feel like I hear somebody turning our doorknob or somebody coming
Yeah.
up the stairs and they have no reason to because there's only our apartment and the people across from us who never have visitors. And it's like, she can focus on whatever is going on. And if there's a sound, I'm like, hold on.
Because
We
you're
might-
there.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm good. You're here.
Yeah.
When you're not there, she's probably like, I heard the noise.
Yeah,
Only-
maybe that's it.
Because I think that there's a certain amount of comfortability girls get. I like to see that how independent girls can be.
Yeah.
But if I'm around Kylie, she's like, sorry, I'm gonna get in the kangaroo pouch now. At least in my head, that could be.
Yeah.
It could be totally the other way, and maybe I'm just being.
I kind of feel like it's similar to the way that
chauvinist.
dogs are. You know how every once in a while your dog just starts barking at a thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Shut up!" But the
Yeah.
dog can't not
like,
bark
"You
at
don't-
it.
you don't
He's
hear
like,
that
"You don't
bad?"
get it. We're in danger," and the dog is trying to protect you.
That's so
And I
cute.
think I'm very protective of Allie in that way, where it's like I'm worried right now because you're here. Like if I were alone, I probably wouldn't pay attention as much.
If I was alone, I'd wait till the door was broken down before I reacted. Not be like, oh, I hear the steps towards the door.
Right.
All right. What's the next one?
Forrest Gump. Pretty. It's everybody's favorite.
Yeah, Forrest Gump's a
It's
great
in
movie.
everybody's top 5.
It reminds me of Goodfellas, where it's like I could watch this movie anytime.
Yeah.
It's like there's a narration to it.
It takes a lot out of me now. When I watch Forrest Gump, it feels like an event. And I try to only watch it every few years, but there was a period of time where I watched it many, many times a year. And my best friend in high school and I watched it together several times and then started to quote it like from the very first line and see how far through it we could get. And we both worked on our Forrest Gump impressions. We both did a
great.
pretty good Bubba. And
Nice.
but yeah, I like those kind of movies where it feels like the plot of the story is not as important as the character that it's happening to. It's just just this guy, and he's just there through every significant event in history, and you're following along, but what really matters is his own personal life and
Experience,
what
yeah.
he's going through. Yeah, it feels it's like anybody can relate to that sort of thing.
Yeah, because we've all lived through history.
Yeah.
Whether we've been right at the precipice or not,
Yeah.
it's relatable. It's
But I feel again like it's such an obvious. It's everybody's one of their favorite movies. This is a little more unique. As good as it gets.
Okay. My that movie was always on as a kid, and we owned it. There's something I don't know about this movie. I tried watching it recently, and I fell asleep to it, and I woke up and there was like violence happening. So
Yeah.
don't say anything.
Okay.
I need to rewatch it. I think whatever reasons you may have,
Yeah.
are right. There's something about this movie. I was watching it and I was like, "What the fuck is this movie? I don't know what this movie is, do I?" So I'm writing a lot of shit down over here on my own here. I have some chores to do. As good as it gets. Got
But
it. Okay.
this was a movie that like also played in my house when I was young. My mom loved it when it came out, and I didn't get it. Like I had no idea what it was about. I didn't
me.
understand.
Don't know.
But then watched it, and then many, many times over and over again, and started to realize like I think this is one of my favorite movies ever. And I just love the way it flows. I love the characters. I love the lines. Like I love the way it's written.
Jack Nicholson's perfect.
I think what I love is a good flawed romantic comedy where it's like the perfection of a romantic comedy turns me off.
Yeah.
But ones that are legitimately flawed and not just fake flawed, where it's like, oh, she's really, really pretty, but she wears glasses, and so we're supposed to feel like she's an outsider in some way. This feels like a movie where he is very much an outsider.
Yeah.
And it's not fake. It's like that's the whole plot of the movie is how weird and quirky this guy is, and he's not able to have normal relationships because he messes them up.
Yeah.
And then you see him struggle through that, and it doesn't really work out. It's kind of a mess the whole time. I like that.
Okay. And I love almost anything Jack Nicholson's in too.
Yeah.
I
same.
don't think I can think of a Jack Nicholson movie that I haven't liked.
About Schmidt is pretty high up there for me too.
But,
I don't know if you've
that
seen
you
that one.
like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that one.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're at top 3 now.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, that's good. I watched it once.
Classic.
Watched
old
it
movie.
recently.
Christmas movie. Like it's always on TV around Christmas time. And so it feels sort of necessary to watch, but something that as I grew up and watched back was like, oh my God, this, it's another movie where it's like, this is kind of how I feel a lot of times. And it's one of the things I appreciate about it is it really, really takes its time getting to the point. It's getting to the plot of the film. Like if somebody broke down the plot for you in 1 or 2 sentences where you've seen it, right? So I'm not going to spoil it. So yeah, guy basically wishes that he wasn't alive and gets a chance to see what life would be like without him. And then realizes that he's had an impact on all these people and wants to be alive again. That doesn't come in until like an hour and a half into the movie. And the whole first section of the movie is just setting up this dude's life in very mundane details, which pay off later. And I really like that it takes its time getting there, because I feel like modern movies rush to the point or they drag on in unnecessary ways sometimes.
Well,
but
they have
don't.
to if they rush to the point too. They drag the point on. And
Yeah.
it's like, thanks for the useless third act.
I really appreciate character development and getting like you know how in exposition, like sloppy exposition, where it's like they're going to explain to you why you need to know a certain detail, but they do it very quickly so that you get to the point.
Yeah.
I'd rather start out mundane and go, I have no idea what this movie's about. What are we even watching this for a long time? And then you're like, oh my God, I get it. Because remember at the beginning?
There's no better payoff, especially if you watch like a throwback in a TV show to an earlier season, just like that little Easter egg. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Exposition's my favorite part. The beginning is my favorite part of any movie. Like exposition's my favorite part. I don't know why. That's just like the best. Where like this is like when things are new and exciting, and I don't know what can happen yet, and then the rest's
I don't know why I'm a huge fan of watching a movie that I don't understand where it's going for a while. Because I think I don't like movies where the plot is so like basic, and I get it. I know where we're going.
Could you name one? Because I'm having a hard time thinking.
Name one that
that
I can't understand what's going on.
Or one that happened like that.
Let me see.
Maybe something I could have seen.
Thinking of one I saw recently. Nebraska stands out to me. Nebraska was one that when I saw it, it was like, what is even going to happen? There's just an old guy and there's his kid. Like, where is this going? And even when you get towards the end, it's like, I still don't know if I get where this is going. There's a plot to it, but it's very loose. You know what I mean?
I could cry thinking about him driving down the street. Fuck.
Yeah, I love movies like that. I'm also a huge sucker for father-son bonding in movies. There's something that tugs at my heartstrings about a father who's been emotionally distant and a son who's been trying to get his attention or get him to be proud of him for something, and that small ways that a dad can finally acknowledge that. You know what I mean?
Big Fish.
Yeah. I think I only saw that once. I didn't appreciate it the way I should have, but yeah, movies like father-son bonding is sometimes hard for me, though.
Big Fish is my favorite Tim Burton movie. I like it more than Beetlejuice. I like it more than Edward Scissorhands. I like it more than Batman. Big Fish is my favorite of his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 to go.
All right. Nebraska, also a great name drop. Love that movie.
Yeah. That's in my list, too, but it was...
Only seen it once, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those movies where you see them and you're like, I'm not going to put this on my top list because it feels like I'm just trying to get some credibility or something.
Yeah. I watched a black and white
I just
film.
know it's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
I just know. One of those for me is Glengarry Glen Ross.
I couldn't. I didn't get it when I watched it.
Saw it one time and immediately was like, this is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen, and never watched it again. But still think of it fondly.
I love
for whatever
movies like
reason.
that,
It's like I just know it's in my top. But
yeah.
Okay, top 2. Number 2, Good Will Hunting.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
That movie fucks me up.
Yep.
I just made a fucking joke about it recent. Not even a joke. It was just I was just shared some dumb Good Will Hunting shit recently. I fucking love Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid because of like this really bad fight scene, which I watched as an adult. It's not bad at all. I'm like, is this slow motion? Is there a song playing?
You know, with the street fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a great. So I was always like, what is this fucking movie that I can't watch?
Yeah.
It's so edgy. It was. My parents had a very strange criteria for what I could and couldn't watch. So that was one of the ones where they're like, Dallas, don't watch this scene. I'm like, why the fuck not?
You showed me The Outsiders,
Yeah.
where the guy named Dallas is shot by police.
Yeah.
I'm watching this. I'm 4 years old. How can you do this to me? I can't watch fucking 90s music playing over. Good Will Hunting. Love that movie.
But my parents had rules about things we could and couldn't watch that never made sense to me. Growing up, my mom, one of her favorite movies of all time is Excalibur. 70s
Okay.
movie, I think.
Okay.
Full on nude sex scenes, like extensive nude sex scenes that we watched many times.
Yeah.
But if we watch a teen movie where a girl is wearing like a really skimpy bikini, she's like, turn it off immediately. Don't want you to watch that. My mom hates like female sexuality that's forced to the forefront of a scene, like the cleavage is
Pie.
like right up in the shot. My mom can't stand that kind of movie, but if it's a tasteful sex scene, she doesn't mind at all. And so sometimes now I know what movies my mom will and won't like based on that. So I'll watch movies, and my mom doesn't watch a lot of new movies, so sometimes I have to insist on one. Like, I know you're gonna love this because I know your taste. And so there's a lot that she avoids because she knows that she's not gonna like it. So I'm like her filter for that now.
You're her little fucking barometer. That's funny. Little nudity barometer.
Number one,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's obvious. I feel like if you know me, I've talked about the movie. Do you know what it is?
I have a guess.
I'm not. It's not trivia. You don't get bonus points for getting it, but I just wonder if I've talked about it a lot.
It's possible. What is it?
Did you have a guess?
Oh,
So
I'm
you-
keeping it to myself to see if I'm right. I'm not
Well,
trying
how to
to.
know you're not lying? You're just gonna lie and say.
I'll write it down, cocksucker.
I'm kidding.
Jesus. This might be Allie's favorite movie. Maybe I'm confusing it. Okay, go ahead. What is it?
Parenthood.
What the fuck is that? The
Okay, I'm
fuck is
glad you don't know.
Parenthood?
Good. I feel like I've talked about it too much, but maybe I haven't. What was your guess?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, no, that's not any of our favorites. It's just a classic.
Okay.
Parenthood is 1989. Steve Martin is, I guess, the lead, but it's not really a Steve Martin movie.
she just shared the drawing of this, right? No, that was Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Parenthood is like an ensemble cast, and it's one of the only ensemble movies that I really enjoy where there's really no lead character because you're in everybody's lives at different points of the movie, but it's one that does it incredibly well. In my opinion, does it incredibly well. It's an extended family of like grandfather, grandmother, and then all of their kids who are now adults, and then all of their kids who are like teenagers or little kids, and seeing all of their different styles of parenting, and they're all interwoven. So like you go from one immediate family's house to another immediate family's house, and they're all connected in weird ways, but their styles of parenting are completely different.
Okay, this sounds amazing.
It's something that I, again, played a lot when I was a kid because
Yeah.
my parents loved it. I liked it as just a goofy, like funny Steve Martin film. But as I got older, it was like, I cry every time I watch this movie now.
Ooh, I need to
because
watch it. I
there's
love any
so
movie.
much of that dysfunction that's like, this parent screwed up this kid in this way, and they're now screwing up their kid in the same way or overcompensating. And all of them are messed up, but they all love each other and are like, because you're a parent and like you never get over loving your kid, right? And so as messed up as their lives are, they're all so attached to each other. You know what I mean?
I need to watch this movie.
Good. I hope you do.
I've never heard
I've-
someone
I've
explain a
recommended it.
movie and then me want to watch it ever. When people tell me to like something, I hate it.
I've recommended it to so many people, and I don't think any of them have watched it.
Fuck
because
you! I'll
I
watch it right now,
insist and they won't.
cocksucker. I'm gonna. Sorry, I don't mean
You
to
will
say-
cry. I
Good.
think you'll cry.
Dude, have you seen Boyhood?
Yes.
That movie.
That's
fucking,
another.
That's
it's the same kind of.
That movie fucked me up.
Yeah.
Made me cry because I grew up this. I was the same age as him.
Yeah.
In the movie, I was the same age. It follows him. It was filmed over 10 years growing up with this kid. And I was his same age in the same era that they're filming it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I just watched my childhood. That sucked.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah.
That really did not feel good.
The part of that movie that makes me really emotional is when his dad gives him the Black Album, the
Yeah.
Beatles Black Album. It's one of those scenes where it's like, I went through this divorce like in the same era of my childhood where my parents split up and they were both trying their best. You know, they're like both trying to still be parents, and to see, because I only saw it once, but if I remember correctly, his dad promised him a car or something for his birthday, and he wanted this car so badly, and instead his dad gives him this mix CD, and he doesn't appreciate it, but it's like the most loving gift the dad could have gotten him because he really put time into it, and he was trying to pass something on to his kid that meant a lot to him, and the kid doesn't appreciate it because he wanted something else. Yeah. That kind of thing kills me. It's especially with dads, like for whatever reason, dads are so
men and their dads.
Vulnerable and like unwilling to budge on things emotionally. And when they try in their own unique way, sometimes we just don't appreciate it
because we don't recognize it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have a strange relationship with my dad, which I think we've talked about enough times, but like looking back on my childhood and trying to appreciate the things in my dad that I didn't at the time. And now, especially as I'm his age or like the age that he was when I was a kid, just imagining it's like, you didn't know what you were doing any more than I know what I'm doing now. Like life felt like you were the expert and like you knew what you were doing. And I was a kid and figuring it out. And then I get to this age and it's like, oh, I'm still a kid and figuring it out. And you totally felt this way too. And you have no idea what you're doing. You're kind of just trying. And so anyway, Parenthood is, I think, the movie that captures it the best. It's just because you get to see it from so many different angles where like, if you don't relate to this family, you'll relate to this family. And like, sometimes you're the teenage boy and sometimes you're the grandpa and sometimes you're the uncle. And like, you see yourself and everybody you love.
I got to stop you, dude.
Yeah.
I can't. I need to watch this fucking movie. You're upsetting me. Oh my God.
So yeah, favorite movie.
Chris Lambert. Thank you again so much.
Is that how we're ending this?
No. Yeah, maybe.
That's good enough.
I have one more question for you.
Okay.
What part of your day do you look forward to most?
Interesting. There's a lot of different ones, but I think for whatever reason recently, it's when I first wake up in the morning. Like first waking up in the morning, I have to pee so bad, pee, and then Allie sleeps in longer than I do. Like she usually sleeps for an hour or two longer than I do. Yeah. And getting up, it's not that I don't want to be around her either, because I know that's immediately where she's gonna hear me say this and be like, he doesn't want to be around me. It's just that it's the most peaceful time of day.
Yeah, and I can see how that can be misconstrued.
I mean that in that the world
hasn't
around us
is
exactly. And so when I wake up and she's still asleep and it's like I know where she is. See, when she leaves and she's like working on something or shooting, if it was really just being away from her that I loved, then it would all be the same. Yeah. But when she's out of the house, I can't stop thinking about where she's at and whether she's okay. But when she's asleep in bed, I know exactly where she's at. I know that she's safe. And that way I can relax and just read. And so what I've started doing recently is reading in the morning and then listening to albums on headphones, which I don't take a lot of time to do. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden I'm going through a wave of it where it's like all these albums I've been ignoring, I'm listening to them through headphones and then repeating them.
Wow.
And reading the Wikipedia page about them or reading interviews about them and starting to reappreciate music. And that's part of what's inspiring me to make my own album again. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I love the art of the album and making an album and everything that goes into it. And it makes me want to start that process over. So when I first wake up in the morning is probably the part of the day I look forward to the most.
That's awesome. It's lovely to have a routine and to have something you look forward to. I'm just trying to find something that I do during my days that gives me that sense of purpose or that sense of like, oh, what's it going to be like today? Or what version of it is it going to be today that I can still kind of thread together from the other versions it's been.
Yeah. Listening to you and Kylie work out how you're going to live together and how you're going to cohabitate and stuff and makes me think of, I was in that position and now I've lived with Allie for going on 6 years now we've been together.
And I think of you two as a couple in like a very admirable way often. Yeah, I really admire your guys' relationship.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah, I heard you were talking about what you worry about with moving in together. And I think what
Mm-hmm.
she said was about having a bedroom that feels like it's a shared space,
Yeah.
and that she feels like she's going to sort of make it her own space and that you won't feel comfortable in it. And my first thought there was like, I have completely let Allie do whatever she wants with our bedroom
Yeah.
because I spend so little time in there. It's like, whatever you want in here, it's totally fine with me. Same with the living room. You do what you want with the living room. It's like, there's a separate section of the house that I'm going to spend my time in anyway. And also I just trust her taste. And like, I'm sure you're the same with Kylie, where it's like, you're not going to make it like My Little Pony where I just never want to be in here ever. You're tasteful and you know what you're doing. And so I would say, just sort of let her do that with the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then you said that she sleeps longer than you do. And that was my first thought, is get up earlier than you normally do and spend some time every morning by yourself. Like whether it's having a cup of coffee or like trying to write or trying to do something
Yeah.
before she's awake. And then when she's awake, give your full attention to her and your relationship, but using the time that you do have apart from each other, when it's like I said, you know, she's safe in bed, you know that everything's okay, relax and do your stuff then. Because with our relationship, we live in a small apartment right now.
Yeah.
And so when one of us needs to get work done, the other one has to leave or something. It's like, you have to find your own thing.
I remember
And
you telling me about that.
Allie
That's beautiful.
tends to go to Starbucks or something, or
Yeah.
if she has a shoot, she'll be on site. And then if she needs to edit or something, I like to drive. I just like to drive in circles
Mm-hmm.
and listen to stuff. And we found our own ways of making that happen. But again, even when she's gone and I have all the time in the world to myself, I'm a little worried that she's not safe.
Yeah.
So it's more comfortable when I know where she is and everything's okay. And I would say second most time that I look most forward to is our dinner together, because that's when, no matter what we've been doing in our separate directions all day,
They collide.
we get back together, we're on the couch and we're going to watch something or talk
okay.
and catch up. And that every day repeats that in some way, that no matter what's going on, we're going to have dinner together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
All right. This is the Bad Etiquette Podcast, folks. Where the fuck are